Chapter 94. Jianghu did not expect to meet Xiaoqin here. When he thought of what happened yesterday and what happened just now, he could no longer hold back the anger he had suppressed for a long time. Even though Duanmu Qing was beside him, Xiaoqin could not be bothered to maintain his demeanor. He only had one thought in his mind now, which was to kill Xiaoqin on the spot. He wanted to repay the humiliation that Xiaoqin had given him several times over. When Xiaoqin saw Jianghu all of a sudden, he was mildly astonished. However, he quickly calmed down. Jianghu did not bring any servants with him. "Young Master Jiang, we meet again." Xiaoqin had a faint smile on his face. He did not show any fear. Instead, it was as though he had met an old friend. He walked over to Jianghu with a smile. Jianghu cursed, "Meeting you." However, before he could finish cursing, he saw a black saber suddenly appear in Xiaoqin's hand. Xiaoqin's feet moved slightly and he quickly got into a stance. Drawing the saber. A saber light flashed before his eyes. Jianghu had never seen such a fast saber before. He had also never seen such a strong person. To think that he dared to make the first move in front of him in Whitewater City. At the critical moment, he brought out the strength of a medial-grade martial master to its limits and retreated with all his might. His extraordinary performance at the critical moment saved his life. This saber did not chop him in half. However, it still left a finger-deep wound on his chest. Blood spurted out into the air. The saber carried a huge force, sending Xiaoqin's body flying back. A large hole appeared on Jianghu's chest and a yellow drawing floated out. Xiaoqin quickly grabbed the drawing in her hands. When Jianghu, who was lying on the ground, saw that Xiaoqin had obtained the drawing, he wanted to stand up. However, he discovered that the saber wound on his chest was too severe. Blood continued to flow out. He did not even have the strength to stand up. He could not help but feel anxious. He coughed out blood in the air and said loudly, "Miss Duanmu, that is a copy of the map of the ancient remnant. You must not let him obtain it." Hearing this, Duanmu's face turned cold. She waved her hands and streams of cold air spread out behind her, gathering in her hands. A sharp palm imbued with cold qi chopped ruthlessly at Xiaoqin. The other party was very strong, so Xiaoqin did not dare to take it head-on. With a light tap of his toes on the ground, he soared into the air and jumped down from the second floor. Boom! The table behind Xiaoqin was immediately frozen into an ice sculpture. Then, it shattered with a loud bang, turning into countless ice shards. What a tyrannical cold qi! When the cultivators on the second floor saw this, they were shocked. They quickly paid their bills and left. They did not want to be affected by this fight. Bang! When Duanmu saw Xiaoqin land on the first floor, he stomped on the wooden plank under his right foot. His figure immediately landed on the first floor and appeared beside Xiaoqin. Holy sh*t. Is he trying to tear down the shop? Jean Fatso could not help but curse loudly when he saw the hole in the wooden plank. After Duanmu landed, he immediately sent out a stream of cold qi at Xiaoqin's back. The cold qi quickly condensed into ice in the air, turning into the shape of a small bird. Qi. Duanmu formed a hand seal with both his hands and the ice phoenix martial spirit in his body cried out. The eyes of the ice bird flying in the air lit up, and its size and speed instantly doubled. A dangerous aura came from behind him. Xiaoqin immediately stopped and his mind went blank. He recalled the state he was in when he practiced the saber. He was extremely focused and his right hand grasped the lunar shadow saber tightly. He instantly raised his aura to the extreme. Drawing the saber. When the ice bird was only half a meter behind Xiaoqin, Xiaoqin suddenly turned around and made a move. The saber light was simple and unadorned. With a schwa sound, it split the ice bird in half from the middle. The part of the body of the ice bird that was split in half by the saber was very smooth. There were no cracks or bumps at all. This showed how fast the saber was. A trace of astonishment flashed in Duanmu's heart. There were no ripples in his limpid eyes and his expression did not change. Taking advantage of the instant Xiaoqin drew his saber, Xiaoqin moved and blocked the entrance of Liushang Pavilion. Most of the customers on the first floor were ordinary citizens. When they saw Xiaoqin flying down from the second floor, they knew there was a fight going on. They all paid their bills and left. Duanmu looked at Xiaoqin expressionlessly and said indifferently, "Hand over the map and I will not harm your life." Xiaoqin held his saber and stood upright. He smiled coldly in his heart. If an ordinary superior-grade martial disciple was struck by the ice bird, they would be severely injured, if not dead. Now that she saw him break the ice bird in one move and said she would not harm his life, Xiaoqin could only say that this girl's schemes were not ordinary. Xiaoqin did not say anything. He pointed with his left hand and 5 strands of purple flames formed in the air. After they spun around, they quickly shot towards Duanyuking. Duanyuking's expression turned cold. Seeing that Xiaoqin did not know what was good for him and actually dared to make a move against her, she snorted coldly. The temperature around her dropped and a boundless cold qi rose up from the ground. When the 5 strands of purple flames met the cold qi, their speed immediately slowed down. However, what surprised Duanyuking was that the 5 strands of flames did not stop immediately. The 5 wisps of flames did not immediately stop. Instead, they slowly arched forward like small fish. Although their speed was slow, they would never retreat. With a thought from Xiaoqin, the 5 strands of flames merged together and formed a huge flame. Their speed suddenly increased explosively. The cold qi in the air could no longer stop the advancement of the flames. Duanyuking's black eyes became even colder. The cold qi surrounding her started to slowly liquefy. DD. The cold qi turned into water droplets and continuously dripped onto the wooden boards around Duanyuking. The water droplets quickly linked together and formed a hard ice. Dang. 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 3 ice walls rose up from the ice and appeared in front of Duanyuking. The purple flames smashed through the first ice wall and continued flying towards the second ice wall. Xiaoqin's thoughts were as fast as lightning. After the purple flames passed through the first ice wall, he could clearly feel that the might of the flames had decreased significantly. He knew that these flames would not be able to cause any harm to Duanyuking. I will not be able to gain any advantage, I have to leave. Xiaoqin made up his mind and immediately flew towards the nearest window. A superior grade martial grandmaster against a superior grade martial grandmaster was clearly irrational. Bang! After the purple flames smashed through the third ice wall, they immediately dissipated into the air, turning into nothingness. Duanyuking watched as Xiaoqin flew away. The cold light in her eyes became even more intense and her fine black hair fluttered in the wind. Ice! Duanyuking shouted and her clothes fluttered. Her long skirt and fine black hair fluttered in the wind. She locked her perception on the first floor of Liushang Pavilion. An intense cold qi suddenly erupted from her body. Shwa! In the entire first floor, everything was covered in a layer of ice that was 2 feet thick. In an instant, the first floor turned into an ice palace that radiated a cold light. The originally open window was now covered in a thick layer of ice. Xiaoqin's flying figure crashed violently into the ice. There was a loud bang, but the ice did not tremble at all. Xiaoqin was knocked back to the ground by the huge recoil. The speed at which he was sent flying was extremely fast. When he crashed into the ice, he bounced back. He felt an incomparable soreness in his shoulder. Is this the power of an innate bloodline, an inherited martial spirit? Xiaoqin looked at the surroundings radiating with an icy light. He was incomparably astonished as he thought to himself, this is simply too horrifying. Duanyuking walked over slowly. Her fine black hair had already turned completely white. Her eyes were ice cold, without a trace of emotion. Hand over the map and I will not harm your life, she said. With every word she said, the temperature of the ice palace dropped by a notch. The purple thunder divine incantation in Xiaoqin's body circulated rapidly, resisting the boundless cold wind in the ice palace. Just as Xiaoqin was hesitating whether to take out the map or not, Bai jumped out from the spirit blood jade and stood in front of Xiaoqin. It took a deep breath and its snow-white belly expanded slightly. It spat out a white ball of light from its mouth. Damn. When Xiaoqin saw Bai's actions, he cursed in his heart. He pushed off the ground and expended all the essence in his body. The electricity in the lunar shadow saber leaped around non-stop. Ha! Xiaoqin shouted loudly and flew towards the window. He stabbed the lunar shadow saber into the ice wall. Under Xiaoqin's full power strike, a small crack appeared on the hard ice. Bang! 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 Xiaoqin felt incomparably anxious. He withdrew his saber and clenched his fist, punching the crack violently. He finally managed to create a small hole in the hard ice wall. Xiaoqin did not care much and directly made his way out. When Duanyuking saw that Xiaoqin wanted to escape, a cold light flashed in her eyes. She was about to make a move. However, at this moment, the ball of light that Bai spat out had already arrived in front of her. When faced with this incomparably ordinary ball of light, Duanyuking did not care too much about it. She casually sent out a palm strike. How strong could the attack of a young spirit beast be? The instant Duanyuking's palm touched the ball of light, the ice palace lit up with a resplendent light. This light was even more dazzling than the sun. It was so dazzling that no one dared to look at it directly. Boom! The light scattered and a horrifying energy ripple spread out in all directions. In that instant, the ice palace that Duamyuking made instantly shattered. Boom, boom, boom. All the pillars on the first floor of Liushang Pavilion were shattered. In the next moment, the entire Liushang Pavilion collapsed. All the buildings turned into rubble. Xiaoqin, who had just made his way out, did not have time to dodge. He was struck by the shockwave and flew into the air, vomiting a mouthful of blood. A white figure ran out from the rubble of Liushang Pavilion. Bai quickly ran to Xiaoqin. Its face was devoid of spirit, it did not have its usual cheekiness, it was dispirited and listless. Seeing it in such a state, the anger in Xiaoqin's heart dissipated significantly. He carried it in his embrace and quickly rushed forward. This was because the danger was not over yet. Xiaoqin's spiritual sense could sense a monstrous aura brewing in the rubble of Liushang Pavilion. Qi! A resonant phoenix cry resounded, reverberating throughout the entire Whitewater City. A flowing body of ice flew out from the rubble of Liushang Pavilion and into the air. Then it turned into a huge ice phoenix. The ice phoenix flapped its wings in the air and a horrifying perception spread out in all directions. It locked onto Xiaoqin's back and soared into the sky. In the instant that Duamyuking turned into the ice phoenix and flew away, a smaller figure leaped out from Liushang Pavilion. It carried a zither and leaped towards the two of them. After a long time, a dust-covered fatso stood up from the rubble while cursing. He looked at the mess that was Liushang Pavilion, which had turned into rubble. He cursed in dissatisfaction, "Who did I offend?" Chapter 95. That is Duamyuking. He actually revealed the origin of his inherited martial spirit. How strong is his opponent? Indeed, even from 1,000 meters away, the martial spirit that has existed since the time of the Qianhu dynasty still gives off such a heavy pressure. Haha, you guys probably don't know. According to the people from Liushang Pavilion, the one who forced Duamyuking to reveal her martial spirit's origin was only a superior grade martial disciple. Furthermore, he seems to be an outsider. That is impossible. Duamyuking is a martial grandmaster. If he met a superior grade martial disciple, it would be like squashing an ant. How could he reveal his martial spirit's origin? He probably even used his martial techniques. It is absolutely true. I came from Liushang Pavilion. That person is indeed only a superior grade martial disciple. First, he injured jianghu and snatched away a map of the ancient remnant. Then he escaped from Duamyuking's hands. In the sky, the ice phoenix flashed a cold light as it soared above the 9 heavens. Every corner of Whitewater City could see it clearly. Many cultivators were discussing it. Whitewater City Jiang residents. The last disciple of the Misty Sword sect master, Xuanhuan, looked at the ice phoenix in the sky. His expression changed slightly as he muttered, "Who is it?" to actually be able to force Duamyuking to reveal his martial spirit's origin. After he spoke, a sword of light appeared under his feet, carrying him into the sky. He turned into a sword image and chased after Duamyuking. Soon he disappeared into the sky. In another room of the Jiang residence, the Hua clan's heir Hua Yunfei looked at Duamyuking in the sky. He revealed a playful smile on his face. After Chu Chaoyan rode on his sword and flew off, he said, "Interesting. I want to see what kind of deity could attract the two geniuses of Dongming province." In the room, a few elders of the Hua clan advised, "Crown Prince, we are only here for the dwelling of the ancient human powerhouse. It is best not to cause any trouble." Hua Yunfei smiled faintly and said proudly, "I have the Hua clan's rare mutated martial spirit. I am destined to rise in this era. No one can stop me. What is there to be afraid of with such a small wave? Don't follow me." After he finished speaking, he turned into a blood-red river that surged into the sky. Everywhere he passed, it was like a blood cloud that covered the sky and the sun. Evil Qi soared into the sky. In the room of the Jiang clan's Duanmu clan, a pretty woman looked at Duanmu Qin, who was in the air. She said worriedly, "Second Elder, is Miss Duanmu in some danger? Should we make a move to help?" The dignified and elegant Second Elder had a calm expression on his face. He said indifferently, "There is no need. If she cannot even deal with such a small problem, how can she be the princess of our Duanmu clan?" At the same time, in the great hall of the Jiang clan, the Jiang clan head, Jiang Mingshuan, was quickly making arrangements. "First Elder, immediately send people to Savage Forest. Regardless of whether they are dead or alive, find that person. We must obtain the map of the ancient remnant. We cannot let the people of the 3 major powers obtain it." Second Elder immediately set off to receive that esteemed guest from Nanling province. Whether our Jiang clan can obtain any fortuitous encounters this time will depend on this esteemed guest. Third elder, go to Liushang Pavilion and find that trash Mu Heng. Lock him up for a month. Because of Xiao Chen's saber strike, undercurrents surged in Whitewater City, the winds and clouds changed color. However, no matter how shocking the situation in the outside world was, or how the winds and clouds surged, Fatso's current mood was one of unshakable grief. This grief flowed like a river, repeatedly washing away Fatso's weak heart. Young master, don't just stand there. You have already been standing there for an hour. If you continue standing there, there will be problems with your body. In the ruins of Liushang Pavilion, a manservant consoled the grieving Kim Taeho. Although Liushang Pavilion had completely collapsed, there were not many casualties. The guests on the first and second floors had already retreated before the explosion. The cultivators on the third and fourth floors had higher cultivations. They had all jumped out the instant the building collapsed. The waiters and manservants in the inn were all smart people. When it happened, not a single one of them remained. After it happened, they all reappeared. Just as Fatso was about to reprimand them, a soft moan could be heard. Kim Taeho's heart skipped a beat as he quickly looked towards the source of the sound. Pushing aside a few heavy wooden boards, Kim Taeho saw the severely injured Jiang Muheng. The wound that Xiao Chen made on his chest was very deep. His internal organs could be seen. At this moment, the wound had not healed yet. Blood was still flowing out slowly. His originally severely injured body, in addition to the collapse of Liushang Pavilion, the current Jiang Muheng was on his last breath. He could not help but moan. He was as pitiful as he could be. He no longer had his usual demeanor. Jean Fatso rolled his eyes and the worry on his face disappeared. He smiled at Jiang Muheng and said, "Isn't this young Master Jiang? Why are you like this?" "Save me." Jiang Muheng's complexion was pale. He was extremely weak. His voice was weak as he spoke intermittently. Kim Taeho moved his ear closer and said loudly, "Young Master Jiang, what are you saying? Speak louder." "Oh, I heard you. Save you. No problem." Kim Taeho's face was full of smiles as he took out a porcelain bottle. He waved it in front of Jiang Muheng and said, "Young Master Jiang, do you see this? This is the peak-grade golden sword medicine refined by a rank 7 alchemist. As long as you sprinkle it on your wound, no matter what kind of injury it is, it will immediately heal. Furthermore, this medicine does not have any side effects. It will not leave behind any scars. It is definitely the best choice for an elegant young master like you." Jean Fatso extended the medicine bottle in front of Jiang Muheng and said enticingly. Jiang Muheng's pale face revealed a trace of joy. He stretched out his left hand with much difficulty, wanting to grab the porcelain bottle. However, Jean Fatso quickly retracted his hand. The joy on Jiang Muheng's face disappeared. He looked at Kim Taeho with doubt, not knowing what was going on. Kim Taeho's chubby face revealed a difficult expression. He said, "Young Master Jiang, the moment I saw you, I felt that we were fated. If it were any other day, I would not have any complaints even if I gave this golden sword medicine to you. However, look at this Liushang Pavilion today. Because of you, it turned into ruins. This fat lord's path to riches has been completely cut off. Now I am extremely poor. Doesn't your Jiang clan have a business district in the west of the city? How about lending it to this fat lord to reopen Liushang Pavilion? As long as you say the word, I will personally apply this peak-grade golden sword medicine on you." This Fatso was really shameless. His Liushang Pavilion was at most a restaurant. Its annual sales in Whitewater City would be at most 5 million silver taels. However, the Jiang clan's business district had countless shops. Just the rent alone would be 20 million silver taels. Based on Fatso's tone, it was as though the Jiang clan was the one profiting. Jiang Muheng's lips moved. His voice was extremely weak. Kim Taeho moved his ear closer and said loudly, "Young Master Jiang, what are you saying? Speak louder, I can't hear you. What did you say about, scram your, mother?" "Damn it." After Fatso heard this, the smile on his face immediately disappeared. He said with a straight face, "This fat lord saved your life out of goodwill. I only asked for a street, yet you actually scolded this fat lord. This fat lord really can't afford to be hurt. This feeling of being snubbed while showing kindness is really unpleasant. Let's go. This fat lord will block here. Let's see who dares to come over. Even if your Jiang clan's people come, they will not be able to take your people away." Fatso had just taken a step when a hand grabbed his pants. Kim Taeho had already expected that Jiang Muheng would not be satisfied. He quickly turned around with a face full of smiles and said, "Young Master Jiang, have you changed your mind? Your voice is too soft. Let me listen. Please don't scold this fat lord again. This fat lord will get angry too." You quickly come over and squat down. Young Master Jiang has already agreed. A brush, ink, paper and inkstone instantly appeared in Fatso's hands. A manservant squatted on the ground. Fatso placed the brush in his mouth in a very coquettish manner. Then he dipped the brush in ink and started writing wildly. After he finished drafting the contract, he placed it under Jiang Muheng's hand. He smiled and said, "Young Master Jiang, please give me your handprint. Then please sign your name. Good writing. Even though young Master Jiang is severely injured, your writing is still very elegant. You have the demeanor of a great master." After Jiang Muheng signed, Fatso immediately put away the contract. Then he took out the bottle of peak-grade golden salve and slowly applied it on Jiang Muheng's wounds. The pained expression on Jiang Muheng's face slowly eased up. He had been on the verge of being severely injured. Now that he relaxed, he immediately fainted. Ah, how delightful. I lost a gold mine in exchange for a mountain of treasures. Fatso laughed maniacally as he held the contract. When the manservant saw that Fatso really gave the peak-grade golden salve to Jiang Muheng, he felt confused and asked, "Young master, did you really apply the peak-grade golden salve refined by a rank 7 alchemist? Indeed, is there a problem?" That manservant said doubtfully, "This is not like young master's style. I thought young master would just casually take some rank 3 alchemy and brush it off." Fatso put away the contract again. He took out the golden folding fan and knocked on the manservant's head violently. He laughed loudly. "What do you know? Do you think there are many people like Jiang Muheng in the entire Great Qin nation? Doesn't their Jiang clan still have 3 streets? This fat lord will treat him. Next time I will look for him and cheat him of 3 streets. This bit of medicine money is nothing." That manservant said in admiration, "Young master is truly brilliant. This is casting a long line to catch a big fish. Why didn't I think of this? In the future, do not ask me such a question that degrades one's intelligence," Fatso said in a pretentious manner. After he spoke, he opened up the golden folding fan and fanned it violently a few times. He raised his head at a 45-degree angle and looked at the clouds in the sky. He said ruefully, "Sometimes having a high intelligence is a form of melancholy. I ask the heavens who in this world can understand me. Life is truly as lonely as snow." Wah! Just as Fatso finished speaking, all the manservants and waiters in the ruins of Liushang Pavilion could not help but vomit. Chapter 96. Outside of Whitewater City, Xiaoqin rushed madly towards Savage Forest. When he saw the weak and unconscious Bai in his arms, his heart ached. The attack that Bai executed earlier was the sharpest attack of the mysterious 9 Heavenly Revolution transformation. It compressed all the essence in its body into 9 strands and then released them explosively. It was very taxing on the body. When Xiaoqin was training in Savage Forest, he once met a rank 4 spirit beast. At the critical moment, Bai used this move. At that time, Xiaoqin understood the might of this move and the damage it did to the body. Hence, he scolded Bai harshly and warned it not to use it again. He did not expect it to use it today. When Xiaoqin looked up, he saw Duamuking in the form of an ice phoenix in hot pursuit. In 2 different directions in the sky, a figure on a sword and a scarlet cloud attracted Xiaoqin's attention. After hearing Fatso's introduction, Xiaoqin already guessed the identities of the 2 people chasing him. He smiled faintly. "The 3 geniuses of Dongming province are working together to chase after me. They are overestimating me." Xiaoqin executed the Azure Dragon Cloud soaring art that he comprehended to its limits. He leaped about on the ground. Looking from a distance, it looked like an azure dragon moving about in the air, creating shockwaves. As long as he entered Savage Forest, Xiaoqin was confident of being able to shake off his pursuers. He had been cultivating in Savage Forest for more than a month and was very familiar with it. Boom! Just as Xiaoqin was about to step into the periphery of Savage Forest, Duamuking suddenly turned into a piece of ice and fell in front of Xiaoqin. The ice melted on the ground like water. After that, it surged continuously. In an instant, it turned into a human figure. Duamuking's beautiful figure appeared in front of Xiaoqin. Her white hair fluttered in the wind, and there was not a trace of fire in her eyes. She was like a goddess who had transcended the mortal world. Her cold voice slowly opened her mouth and said, "Hand over the sketch and I won't make things difficult for you." Xiaoqin did not answer her. He executed the lightning evasion to dodge. If he wanted to hand it over, Xiaoqin would have given it to her at Liushang Pavilion. Now that they were already at the edge of Savage Forest, they had to fight for it. Although Xiaoqin did not know what this map was, seeing how nervous she was, it was definitely not an ordinary map. Wah! Wah! A river of blood descended from the sky. Shua, the river of blood, landed on the ground. Hua Yunfei's figure appeared behind Duamuking. Chu Chaoyun, who was riding on his sword, quickly descended and landed firmly on the ground. The sword of light under his feet turned into a beam of light and flew into his forehead. The three of them were not in a rush to chase after Xiao Chen. Hua Yunfei looked at the two of them and revealed a sinister smile. Since Miss Duanmu did not manage to catch this brat, how about this? The three of us will use our own abilities to chase after him. No matter who obtains the sketch, we will share it with the other party. What do you think? Chu Chaoyun's expressionless face did not reveal any expression. He said, I agree. Our three clans came uninvited. These few days, Jiang Mingxuan has been resisting the pressure and refusing to lead the way. He must be waiting for help. I heard that the Ji clan of Nanling province will be arriving soon. At that time we will have another strong opponent. As long as we are ahead of the Jiang clan and snatch the sketch, our three clans can ignore the Jiang clan and work together to explore. Duamuking's white hair slowly turned black. The otherworldly look in her eyes became much gentler. Her red lips parted slightly as she said, Sure. After the three of them spoke, they immediately flew into the depths of savage forest. They used their own methods and chased after Xiao Chen. After the three of them left, Su Xiaoxiao slowly appeared while hugging her zither. She said softly, It really is the blue dragon cloud soaring art. I was not wrong the last time. The head of the four holy beasts, the blue dragon martial spirit, has reappeared in the world. After she spoke, she did not enter savage forest. There was a look of contemplation in her eyes. After a while, she hugged her zither and quickly rushed towards Whitewater City. Not long after Su Xiaoxiao left, the first elder of the Jiang clan, Jiang Yunza, led a group of cultivators from the Jiang clan and rushed over. This group of cultivators were all martial masters, and there was a total of more than 200 of them. Jiang Yunza looked at the savage forest in front of him and said, Split into 20 teams. Each team has 10 people. After you discover the target, make your move immediately. 10 martial masters against 1 superior grade martial disciple should be foolproof. After he spoke, he took out a few portraits and handed them to the group. Savage forest is too big. With just the few of us, we might not be able to find him. If you meet cultivators who are out for experiential training, hand these portraits to them and ask for their assistance in the hunt. In the periphery of savage forest, Xiao Chen was running very quickly. He extended out his spiritual sense and everything that happened within 800 meters of him was recorded in his mind. The entire savage forest stretched for thousands of kilometers. Just the periphery alone was more than 1,000 hectares. Furthermore, aside from spirit beasts, there were also many cultivators here for experiential training and hunting. Xiao Chen hiding in there was like a drop of water in the ocean. Wuxi. A pack of gray wolves appeared in the range of Xiao Chen's spiritual sense. The gray wolves were rank 3 spirit beasts that lived in packs. Every time they appeared, there would be at least 20 of them. Xiao Chen knew that they would not be easy to deal with, so he prepared to go around them. Withdrawing his spiritual sense, Xiao Chen moved to the side. Just at this moment, there was the sound of footsteps. Xiao Chen's heart trembled. He did not know who it was, so he quickly hid in the bushes at the side. That brat really knows how to hide. After searching for so long, I have not even seen a shadow. I really don't know how this brat offended the Jiang clan, to actually be wanted by the Jiang clan, with a bounty of 1,000 gold taels. I heard that this brat snatched away a treasure map from the Jiang clan. It is the map of the ancient remnant of the human race that has been spreading like wildfire recently. Say, if we manage to get our hands on it, can we go and try our luck? Haha, with your cultivation as a medial grade martial master, I advise you not to even think about it. That map is just a copy, the original is still in the hands of the Jiang clan. The 3 powers of Dongming province are all here. I'm afraid you will be killed before you even get close to the ancient remnant. We should just hand this map over to the Jiang clan and earn some money. That's true. No matter how tempting a treasure is, without a life to enjoy it, it is just empty talk. Let's keep searching. I clearly saw that brat running over here. Xiao Chen, who was in the bushes, was astonished. The power of the Jiang clan in this area was indeed horrifying. They actually managed to bribe the cultivators in the periphery of savage forest so quickly. This is going to be troublesome, I have to hurry over there. A cultivator was holding a saber in his hand as he walked towards the bushes that Xiao Chen was in. The saber in his hand was continuously chopping away the thorns blocking his way. I'm going to be discovered, I can't go on like this. Seeing that person getting closer, Xiao Chen thought to himself, I have to make the first move. Wah! Xiao Chen jumped out from the bushes and swung his saber. In the instant that person was shocked, he chopped him in half. After that, he quickly rushed towards the remaining 5 cultivators. Ninth brother has been killed by him, quickly kill him. When everyone saw that Xiao Qin had chopped ninth brother in half with one saber strike, they were all astonished. Ninth brother was a medial grade martial master, yet he was actually killed by this person with one saber strike. Drawing the saber. Xiao Qin executed the rushing thunder saber technique. The lunar shadow saber gave off an electric glow, and the energy of the rank 6 demonic core was released without holding anything back. The saber light flashed in the air, and another cultivator in front was chopped in half. Arclight chop. I'll kill you. A cultivator at the side saw that another of his companions had been killed by Xiao Qin. Facing this flawless arclight chop, his eyes turned bloodshot. He held his saber and chopped at Xiao Qin without any care. Puchi. Once the rushing thunder saber technique was executed, one would not be able to retreat. Otherwise, one's aura would drop to an extreme, and one would not be able to execute the aura of the rushing thunder chop for a short period of time. Xiao Qin did not dodge this saber strike. The saber landed on Xiao Qin's chest, leaving a bloody wound. However, before this person could rejoice, he was chopped in half by the arclight chop. Rushing heaven chop. Holding the lunar shadow saber, Xiao Qin soared into the sky and pierced through the chest of the person in front of him. The huge force instantly blasted that person's body into countless pieces of meat. Rushing thunder chop. A clap of thunder resounded in the sky. Xiao Qin carried the might of the heavenly thunder as he charged through the air. The person below raised his saber to block. Bang! The saber immediately shattered, and the lunar shadow saber easily chopped his body in half from head to toe. Rushing thunder second chain chop. Xiao Qin turned around and swung his saber. The energy gathered by the first 4 saber strikes of the rushing thunder chop was released explosively with this rushing thunder second chain chop. The person who was about to sneak attack Xiao Qin from behind was crushed into powder by the huge force of this saber strike. Looking at the corpses of the 6 people on the ground, Xiao Qin did not feel any unease in his heart. Since these people wanted to kill him and steal the map, they had to be prepared to be killed. Taking out a qi returning pill and placing it in his mouth, Xiao Qin looked at the wound on his chest and frowned slightly. If the battle armor had not been damaged by Tang Feng, this saber strike would not have been able to injure him. After leaving Mo City, Xiao Qin discovered that the profound ranked battle armor that Xiao Xiong gave him had already lost its spirituality due to Tang Feng's attack. It was now no different from a normal soft armor. In order to not affect his movements, Xiao Qin simply threw away the battle armor. In the earlier battle, given Xiao Qin's strength, he could have easily dealt with this group of people. He would not have to exhaust much of his essence to kill them easily. Xiao Qin was afraid that if he dragged things out for too long, he would attract even more trouble. Thus, he used the rushing thunder saber technique, which consumed a lot of essence in order to deal with them in a short amount of time. Taking out a blood-replenishing pill, Xiao Qin crushed it and applied it on their wounds. Then he opened the bags on the backs of the 6 cultivators. These were all cultivators who had trained in Savage Forest for a long time. There was a large amount of spirit beast inner cores and herbs in the bags. Xiao Qin counted them. There was a total of 4 rank 3 spirit beast inner cores and 5 rank 4 herbs. The rest were all cheap items which Xiao Qin casually threw away. They are still worth some silver taels. Xiao Qin revealed a smile on his face as he placed the rank 3 spirit beast inner cores and rank 4 herbs into his universe ring. For the rest of the journey, Xiao Qin kept an eye out. He would rather expend his essence quickly and extend his spiritual sense. As long as he met someone, he would immediately avoid them. It did not matter if they had ulterior motives or not, he would just go around them. When it was close to dusk, Xiao Qin arrived at an extremely desolate area in the outskirts of Savage Forest. When he arrived here, Xiao Qin's tense expression finally relaxed and he withdrew his spiritual sense. He took large strides towards the forest land in front of him. His figure walked in the forest at a very strange pace. After a while, Xiao Qin's figure suddenly disappeared into the forest like a ghost. Chapter 97. Within the forest, Xiao Qin seemed to have vanished into thin air. When he reappeared, the environment in front of Xiao Qin had undergone a complete change. In the distance, there was a gushing waterfall flowing down from a mountain stream, flowing into a long river below. The riverbank was a vast and spacious area. Just by standing on the riverbank, one could feel the fresh water vapor. This large river was known as the Zhuang River. There were many rivers in Savage Forest, and this Zhuang River was one of the most unremarkable ones. The place where Xiao Qin was at was the source of the Zhuang River. To outsiders, this was an unremarkable place. No one would pay attention to it. However, Xiao Qian's spiritual sense could sense an extraordinary existence in this place. There was a huge rock in the cave behind the waterfall. The spiritual energy in the surroundings was extremely dense. Cultivating on it would be faster than cultivating outside by at least 50%. After Xiao Qian discovered this place by accident, he immediately laid down an illusion formation to fool others. This place was originally rather desolate. When Xiao Qian laid down the formation, he did not have any worries, so he was very calm. Xiao Qian used a total of 10 days to complete this illusion formation. As long as it was not a martial king expert, outsiders would not be able to discover this place. Even if they entered this place by mistake, they would unknowingly take a detour. Now that Xiao Qian arrived at this place, he was completely safe. He found a flat rock and sat down cross-legged. He slowly circulated the purple thunder divine incantation and entered a state of cultivation. The morning sun rose and the sunlight shone down. The night passed just like that. Xiao Qian opened his eyes and took a deep breath. He jumped down from the rock and went to the riverbank to wash his face. In the morning, the waterfall had stopped flowing. The surface of the river was as smooth as a mirror. Xiao Qian raised his leg and stepped onto the surface of the river. His body magically stopped on the water's surface. His heart was as calm as still water. Xiao Qian circulated the blue dragon cloud soaring art. He closed his eyes and slowly walked on the water's surface. With every step he took, ripples spread out in all directions. In ancient legends, dragons were the overlords of the sky and the sea. They could overturn rivers and seas, reverse mountains and rivers, and summon the wind and rain. They were omnipotent. When it soared above the 9 heavens, it could soar through the clouds. As it turned, wind and thunder surged, and it could travel 10,000 li in an instant. The blue dragon cloud soaring art was such a movement technique. When practiced to the great perfection stage, one could ride the clouds, ride the mist, and overturn rivers and seas. These days, Xiao Qian had been practicing the blue dragon cloud soaring art in the Zhuang River. At first he had no progress. Now he had some small success and could walk slowly on the water surface. Xiao Qian walked slowly on the water surface, comprehending the various mysteries of the blue dragon cloud soaring art. When the sun reached the top of his head, the sound of splashing water could be heard. The surging waterfall started to flow again. The calm river surface suddenly became turbulent. Xiao Qian opened his eyes. They were filled with seriousness. Every day at this time the trial truly began. If Xiao Qian was not careful, he would immediately fall into the water and become a drowned rat. The river water flowed downwards rapidly. Xiao Qian stood on the water surface and moved against the current. Every step he took exhausted a large amount of essence. However, his body still swayed left and right on the water surface. Pu Tong. When he took 100 steps forward, Xiao Qian finally could not take it anymore and fell into the river. The turbulent river water carried Xiao Qian's body downstream quickly. The calm Zhuang River immediately revealed its sinister side. The turbulent river water carried a huge force. It continuously attacked Xiao Qian's body, making it difficult for him to maintain his balance. His body flowed downstream quickly. This was not the first time he encountered such a situation. Xiao Qian was calm and did not panic. He held his breath and his body slowly sank to the bottom of the river. He circulated his essence in his body, storing up power. The instant his feet touched the bottom of the river, he pushed off and his body shot out of the water like an arrow released from a bow. When his body reached the surface of the water once again, he pushed off lightly and somersaulted in the air, landing firmly on the shore. Looking at the rushing river water, Xiao Qian sighed in his heart. With such turbulent river water, even a regular cultivator would drown if they did not have a good state of mind. Xiao Qian's entire body was wet and uncomfortable. He wiped his face and took off his clothes. Then he took out a set of dry clothes from the universe ring. At this moment, it was not suitable for him to continue practicing his movement technique. Xiao Qian did not waste any time. After he ate some dry rations, he took out a wooden stick and placed it on the ground. Xiao Qian held the lunar shadow saber in his hand and endured the blazing sun. He started to practice the first move of the rushing thunder saber technique, drawing the saber. In his opinion, this drawing the saber had to be practiced to the point where he could strike the wooden stick 12 times without it falling. Only then would it be considered to have reached great perfection. Right now he could only swing the saber 4 times, barely reaching small perfection. There was still a long way to go before he could reach great perfection. Shwa, 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 shwa. After practicing for 2 hours, this time Xiao Qian struck out 5 times. The light wooden stick swayed a few times, but it did not fall. There is finally some improvement. I can strike out 5 times in a row. Xiaochen wiped the sweat off his forehead. The handle of his saber was covered in sweat as he spoke joyfully. After leaving Mo City, Xiaochen realized that there were too many geniuses in this world. Xiaochen was nothing. Just in Dongming province alone, the inheritors of the three great powers were only 16 or 17 years old. However, their cultivations had already reached the shocking martial grandmaster realm. This was a realm that ordinary people might not be able to reach in their entire lives. However, they were able to reach it easily at the age of 16 or 17. It could only be said that comparing oneself to others was infuriating. Looking at the entire world, it was unknown how many such demonic geniuses there were. His achievements, Xiaochen, were not even worth mentioning. He was like a chestnut in the vast ocean, unremarkable. In this world where the strong ruled, since he was here, he would not be willing to be below others. He would not be a stepping stone for others, to be buried in the dust of history. Without a strong talent, he would have to put in 1,000 times the effort. Just like the Thunder King from 1,000 years ago. He was born in a poor family, but he relied on his own strength to trample on the geniuses of the noble clans. He had obtained the inheritance of the Thunder King. Even if he did not care about his own face, he had to take into account the illustrious reputation of the Thunder King. Since he did not have a demonic talent, then he would have to put in 1,000,000 times the effort. Xiaochen set up another wooden staff and focused. He continued to practice drawing the saber tirelessly. The amount of wood shavings on the ground increased continuously. After an hour, Xiaochen sheathed his saber and rested for a while. Then he slowly walked to the shore and looked at the gushing waterfall in the distance. It had already weakened significantly. Kill? He shouted lightly and jumped onto the turbulent surface of the water. He sprinted against the current and went against the current. Waves of air surged around Xiaochen and 2-meter-tall waves splashed on both sides of his body. Xiaochen ran all the way, not stopping to rest. When he arrived at the waterfall, he shouted and leaped up high. A chi spear shot out from his body. With a schwa sound, Xiaochen broke through the waterfall. He landed on a rock behind the waterfall. This was a cave that was recessed into the mountain wall. It was only about 2 meters deep. The cave was very humid. The waterfall at the entrance was like a curtain of water. It was very similar to the water curtain cave that Xiaochen knew in his previous life. There was a very smooth rock in the cave. Xiaochen revealed a faint smile as he slowly sat on it. He immediately entered into a state of cultivation. The purple thunder divine incantation circulated continuously in his body. The dense spiritual energy in the surroundings poured into Xiaochen's body continuously. The spiritual energy was so dense that it was like a fog, almost to the point of liquefying. Xiaochen only circulated it for one great cycle. The spiritual energy in his body had already filled all his meridians. There was a faint feeling of excitement coming from his martial spirit. Xiaochen knew this was a sign of advancing. As long as he was willing, he could immediately return to the cultivation of an inferior grade martial master. However, Xiaochen did not do so. Back then, when he executed the Ninth Heaven's Thunder Formation, his cultivation had dropped to superior grade martial disciple. After thinking about it carefully, he did not feel that it was a bad thing. Instead, it was an opportunity for him to stabilize his foundation. Xiaochen had only spent a few months to advance from the spirit refinement realm to the inferior grade martial master realm. To a normal person, this was an inconceivable thing. No matter what, he had not truly solidified his foundation. The foundation of a tall building was the most important. Only when the foundation was stable would there be no accidents happening to the tall building, such as collapsing midway. The principle of the martial Tao was the same. If the spirit refinement realm was like digging a foundation, then the martial disciple realm was like filling in the foundation. Xiaochen had entered the spirit refinement realm much later than others. He had spent a total of 15 years digging a foundation much deeper than others. All he had to do now was bury it again and create an unbreakable, iron-like foundation. With a thought, Xiaochen infused all the absorbed spiritual energy into his skin, flesh, and bones, slowly tempering his body. After the essence circulated 9 great cycles in his body, Xiaochen opened his eyes. His body was covered in a black viscous substance. Xiaochen leaped out of the hole. The gushing waterfall washed away all the impurities on his body. Xiaochen immediately felt refreshed and carefree. He could not help but shout. The aura in his body exploded out to its peak. The water droplets on his body instantly evaporated. Boom! Xiaochen's body landed heavily on the surface of the water. A huge force spread out from under his feet. After a while, a 3-meter-tall wave rose up in the surroundings. Xiaochen pushed off the water and returned to the shore. In the boundless horizon, the sun had set and night had fallen. A day had passed just like that. A small white figure dashed over from outside the illusion formation. When Xiaoqin saw it, he revealed a faint smile. No matter how lonely the path of cultivation was, at least there was Bai to accompany him. After a night of rest, Bai regained its strange temperament. It ran out of the spirit blood jade early in the morning. Xiaoqin was not worried about its safety. Bai cultivated the mysterious 9 heavenly revolution transformation. Its speed was so fast that even Xiaoqin could not catch up to it. It ran over to Xiaoqin and held a stalk of herb in its mouth. It placed it in Xiaoqin's hands like it was presenting a treasure. Xiaoqin did not find this strange. Bai was very sensitive to natural treasures with spirituality. Every time it went out, it would gain something. Xiaoqin held the herb in his hands and observed it carefully. His eyes lit up and he said joyfully, "Rank 5 spirit herb, fragrant cloud grass. This is a 30-year-old superior grade herb. It is worth 1,000 gold." Hearing Xiaoqin's joyful words, Bai revealed a human-like smile. It was very satisfied. Chapter 98. The sun rose and set, the clouds rose and scattered. The days in the valley passed very quickly. In the blink of an eye, Xiaoqin had cultivated for a week in front of the waterfall. During this time, Xiaoqin continuously cultivated the blue dragon cloud soaring art. When the river was turbulent, he would go ashore to practice the rushing thunder saber technique. At dusk, he would cultivate the purple thunder divine incantation, continuously consolidating his cultivation realm and tempering his physical body. Hua! On this day, Xiaoqin leaped out of the cave behind the waterfall and landed heavily on the water surface. He kicked up a huge wave. Water droplets shot out in all directions and the waves surged up to the sky. With a gentle push, Xiaoqin returned to the riverside. After a week of cultivation, the essence in his body had become even denser and purer. It was now comparable to a superior grade martial master. After resting for a while, Xiaoqin looked suspiciously in the direction of the illusion formation's exit. Normally Bai would be back by now. Why is it not back yet? Bai was the darling of the forest. It had a special affinity with the forest. After coming to Savage Forest, Xiaoqin could not control it anymore. It would run out on its own every time. Bai, who cultivated the mysterious 9 heavenly revolution transformation, did not have any natural enemies in the periphery of Savage Forest. However, Xiaoqin was worried about it. If it ran into the inner regions of Savage Forest, it would be problematic. Just as Xiaoqin was hesitating whether to go out and look for Bai, a white figure appeared in his vision. Before Xiaoqin could reveal a smile, he discovered that there was something wrong with Bai's body. Its speed was much slower than usual. When it got closer, Xiaoqin discovered that its snow-white body was covered in red wounds. The red blood was very eye-catching on its snow-white fur. When Bai looked at Xiaoqin, it seemed to be afraid. It did not dare to get close like a child who had done something wrong. Xiaoqin had a sullen expression as he carried Bai over. After carefully inspecting the wounds, he heaved a sigh of relief. They were all superficial wounds. Then he took out a blood-replenishing pill, crushed it and slowly applied it on Bai's wound. Then he went to the river and washed the blood off Bai's body. "Let's see if you still dare to run outside. Now you know how powerful I am." Xiaoqin placed Bai on a soft patch of grass and lectured him. The effect of the blood-replenishing pill was very good. After it had completely seeped into Bai's body, the wound immediately solidified and a scar slowly formed. Seeing that Xiaoqin was lecturing it, it stood up with some grievance. It gestured with its hands and feet while squeaking. Although Bai could not speak the human language, it had signed a blood contract with Xiaoqin. Xiaoqin roughly understood what it meant. It saw a stalk of spirit herb in the periphery of Savage Forest and wanted to pick it like usual. Who knew that this stalk of spirit herb had a 4-legged snake? Its speed was extremely fast. Before Bai could get close, it was scratched by the claws of the 4-legged snake. It was so frightened that it quickly ran back. Xiaoqin's heart sank. Based on Bai's description, this 4-legged snake should be a rank 4 spirit beast, black-legged snake. However, how could there be a rank 4 spirit beast in the periphery of Savage Forest? A rank 4 spirit beast was equivalent to a martial grand master. In the periphery of Savage Forest, rank 3 spirit beasts were rather rare. For a rank 4 spirit beast to appear guarding a stock of natural treasure, it could only mean that the natural treasure was of a very high rank. Xiaoqin looked at Bai and asked seriously, "Are you sure it is in the periphery of Savage Forest?" Bai nodded its head heavily. Xiaoqin started thinking. This natural treasure was clearly not ordinary. It could be like the red nascent fruit in the periphery of Sevenhorn Mountain. That place was the place with the densest spiritual energy in the periphery of Savage Forest. If it was under normal circumstances, Xiaochen would have made up his mind long ago. A rank 4 spirit beast was only equivalent to a martial grand master. However, a spirit beast was, after all, a spirit beast. Its thinking was not as agile as a human's, and it could not use martial techniques and spirit weapons like a human could. After paying a certain price, Xiaochen was confident that he could deal with this black-legged snake. However, the problem now was that he did not know whether the Jiang clan's people had returned or not. If they were still around and the Jiang clan's people discovered his whereabouts, it would be difficult for him to escape. Riches are sought amidst danger. The path of cultivation is filled with boundless danger. It all boils down to the word risk. Xiaochen made up his mind and no longer hesitated. When Bai's injuries were more or less healed, he said, "Bai, lead the way. I will help you take revenge." Bai cheered and led Xiaochen out of the illusion formation. The scene in front of Xiaochen suddenly changed. A forest of tall trees and a dark forest appeared in Xiaochen's vision once again. Bai's speed was extremely fast. If Xiaochen did not execute the blue dragon cloud soaring art, he would not be able to catch up to it. One man and one beast moved quickly. Xiaochen ignored all the spirit beasts they met along the way, leaving them all behind. When they arrived in front of a small valley, Bai stopped. Xiaochen extended his spiritual sense into the valley. At the end of the valley, in an extremely hidden crevice, Xiaochen saw a 7-colored flower petal. 7-leaf flower. Xiaochen exclaimed in astonishment. A 7-leaf flower actually grew in this place. This was too shocking. The 7-leaf flower was a true treasure. It had a total of 7 different colored petals. Every 10 years, one petal would grow out. After all 7 petals grew out, it would come into contact with the neon-like 7-leaf fruit in another 20 years. Xiaochen extended his spiritual sense into the 7-leaf flower and observed it carefully. He was somewhat disappointed to discover that the fruit within the petals had already been plucked. There were only 7 different colored petals left. However, even if the 7-leaf fruit had been plucked, the remaining 7 petals would still be useful to cultivators. Every petal could temper a cultivator's body once again. After the tempering of the 7-leaf flower, a cultivator's physical body would undergo a qualitative change. Xiaochen withdrew his spiritual sense and asked Bai, "When you came here earlier, was the fruit still there?" Bai chattered non-stop. When Xiaochen heard it, he could not help but feel it was strange. He said, "When Bai came here earlier, it was still there. Why is it gone now?" "That's right, when I scanned the valley with my spiritual sense earlier, I did not see the black-legged snake. It must have plucked the fruit." Xiaochen's heart stirred. He quickly released his spiritual sense again, carefully searching every corner of the valley. Finally, on a slope in the valley, Xiaochen discovered traces of the black-legged snake. It was hiding behind a huge rock. That sparkling and translucent 7-leaf fruit was right in front of the black-legged snake. The black-legged snake's eyes were closed. The 7-leaf fruit emitted a golden spiritual energy that was visible to the naked eye. The black-legged snake's body was 2 meters long. It had 4 legs and its body was as big as a bowl. The snake's body was covered in dark gold scales. It opened its mouth wide and sucked in all the golden spiritual energy. Its face revealed an extremely joyful expression. Xiaochen was secretly astonished. This black-legged snake is not stupid. It knows that the 7-leaf fruit contains an astonishing amount of spiritual energy. It cannot just swallow it in one bite. Xiaochen circulated the gravity spell and gently floated to the cliff where the 7-leaf flower was located. A faint fragrance came from the 7-leaf flower. Xiaochen revealed a faint smile on his face. He grabbed the root and exerted some strength. He carefully plucked it and placed it in his universe ring. Hoo! Landing gently on the ground, Xiaochen extended his spiritual sense out again. The black-legged snake was intoxicated by the spiritual energy of the 7-leaf fruit and did not notice the situation here. The corner of Xiaochen's mouth curled up into a cold smile. He locked his spiritual sense on the black-legged snake and shouted, "Lightning evasion!" A clap of thunder resounded in the valley. Lightning streaked across the sky. Xiaochen suddenly appeared beside the black-legged snake. The lunar shadow saber lit up with a resplendent electric glow. He did not hesitate to execute the drawing the saber that he had practiced thousands of times. "King?" Xiaochen raised his hand and chopped down. The lunar shadow saber ruthlessly chopped at the spine of the black-legged snake. The lunar shadow saber left a 2 chi deep wound on the dark golden scales. The black blood of the black-legged snake gushed out like a fountain. Unexpectedly, it did not chop the black-legged snake in half. Xiaochen was astonished. He originally thought that he could take advantage of the moment when the black-legged snake was distracted to finish it off. He did not expect that he would only leave a wound on its body. Under the intense pain, the black-legged snake opened its mouth at an exaggerated angle. It let out a painful hiss and its huge tail ferociously stabbed at Xiaochen. The pitch-black snake tail was as tough as an awl. It twisted at an inconceivable angle as it fell from the sky. A pitch-black liquid flickered at the end of the snake tail. It was obviously a highly toxic substance. Xiaochen was overwhelmed with shock and quickly retreated backward. The awl-like snake tail stabbed into the place where Xiaochen was originally standing. The huge force created a hole about half a meter wide in the ground. Bang! After the snake tail landed on the ground, it swung horizontally and quickly flew towards Xiaochen in the air. Xiaochen was astonished. He did not expect the snake tail to swing so quickly. His body paused in the air before he ferociously used his chi to rise by 3 meters, dodging the black-legged snake's huge tail. Before Xiaochen could heave a sigh of relief, he saw the snake tail twirl in the air. Its length suddenly doubled as it swept towards Xiaochen. Boom! Not only did the snake tail's length double, the speed at which it swung horizontally also increased significantly. Xiaochen had never seen such a strange thing before. He was caught off guard and was ruthlessly swept by it. The snake tail carried a huge force and it flung Xiaochen down from the air. Xiaochen's body had been tempered countless times. At this moment his muscles were as tough as iron. After being swept by the snake tail, Xiaochen only felt the chi in his body churn for a while. However, he did not suffer any serious injuries. If it were a regular martial master, their internal organs would have ruptured and they would have died. Xiaochen's body landed on the slope and quickly rolled down. The black-legged snake ran wildly on all fours. Its 2-meter-long body was extremely fast as it flew towards Xiaochen. Xiaochen shouted lightly and stopped his body from sliding down. His right leg bounced off the ground and he flew backwards before landing firmly on the ground. When the black-legged snake saw that Xiaochen's speed was not slower than its own, it instantly landed on an empty space in the valley. It opened its huge mouth and spat out a black venom at Xiaochen. Xiaochen flicked his finger and a strand of purple flame condensed on his fingertip. It spun around and shot towards the venom. Wuxia. The venom was instantly struck. There was a chi-chi sound as the venom dispersed. Thick black smoke spread out in all directions. The speed at which the black smoke spread was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, it covered half of the valley. Chapter 99. Xiaochen did not panic. He took out a black veil from the universe ring and wore it, covering his mouth and nose. This veil was made from the hide of a spirit beast. It could isolate most of the gases. The black veil was not a rare treasure. Most of the cultivators who entered Savage Forest would purchase one. Xiaochen was prepared. When he entered Savage Forest for the first time, he had already prepared one. Thick smoke pervaded the air and the surroundings were covered in fog. Visibility was greatly hindered. Xiaochen spread out his spiritual sense and immediately caught sight of the black-legged snake. When the black-legged snake saw that Xiaochen was still in the poisonous smoke, it thought that his vision was limited. It ran to Xiaochen in a carefree manner and used its huge tail to stab at Xiaochen. Xiaochen quickly retreated and the huge tail quickly lengthened in the air, chasing after Xiaochen. Xiaochen locked his spiritual sense on the huge tail of the black-legged snake. He discovered that after its tail lengthened, the originally densely packed Jin Lin became thinner. Good chance. Xiaochen thought to himself. This black-legged snake must have thought that he could not see it in the thick smoke. That was why it dared to be so bold and attack him without fear. Kill? Xiaochen shouted and quickly executed the blue dragon cloud soaring art. He rose from the ground and instantly rose to a height of 10 meters. A dragon image appeared behind him and he executed the simplified version of the descending divine dragon chop. The black-legged snake felt a dangerous aura and quickly retracted its huge tail. However, the speed of the descending divine dragon chop was extremely fast. It had only retracted its huge tail halfway when the lunar shadow saber in Xiaochen's hand ruthlessly chopped at an area where the scales were sparse. The black-legged snake's tail was instantly chopped in half. Wuxia. Blood sprayed out from the place where the tail was severed. This fellow's blood was also highly toxic. Even a drop of it would be fatal. Xiaochen hurriedly retreated. Previously, Xiaochen's sneak attack had struck the black-legged snake's weak spot. As the saying goes, hit the snake where it hurts. Although Xiaochen's full-strength strike did not split it into 2 halves, it had still severely injured it. At this moment, Xiaochen had chopped off the weapon it relied on, its tail. Adding injuries on top of injuries, it had become a toothless tiger. It was no longer a life-threatening threat to Xiaoqin. The black-legged serpent also understood this logic. It let out a pained hiss and fiercely bounced off the ground with its 4 legs. It opened its huge mouth and pounced towards Xiaoqin without the slightest hesitation. It was actually a suicidal move. Xiaoqin's heart tightened. The black-legged serpent's final attack was extremely fast. There was no way to dodge it. If he could not kill it in one strike, the black-legged serpent's counterattack would definitely severely injure him. In the time it took for a spark to fly off a flint, Xiaoqin's mind became clear. He recalled the state he was in when he practiced his saber. He slowly said in his heart, "Don't be nervous. Just treat me as a wooden stick for practicing your saber." Drawing the saber. The lunar shadow saber flickered with electricity. When the black-legged serpent was less than half a meter away from Xiaoqin, Xiaoqin suddenly made his move. A saber light flashed and the black-legged serpent was chopped into 2 halves from head to toe. Xiaoqin rolled to the side, avoiding the poisonous blood falling from the air. With a bang, the 2 halves of the black-legged serpent fell to the ground. The poisonous fog in the valley slowly dissipated. Xiaoqin removed his mask and walked towards the huge rock where the black-legged serpent had been. He carefully placed the 7-leaf fruit into his universe ring. Looking at the corpse of the black-legged serpent on the ground, Xiaoqin did not waste it. The entire body of the black-legged serpent was a treasure. The black Jinlin scales on the serpent's body were indestructible. They were excellent materials for making battle armor. The 4 legs were excellent for brewing medicinal wine and refining medicinal pills. Xiaoqin took out a sharp knife and cut them off. Xiaoqin tidied up everything. Just as he was about to get up, there was a buzzing sound in his head. He felt dizzy and his limbs went numb. Damn it, the poisonous fog must have entered my body through my pores. I have to find a place to force the poison out. Otherwise I will be in big trouble. Shwa, shwa. The sound of footsteps came from outside the valley. Xiaoqin extended his spiritual sense out and his heart tightened. It was the Jiang clan's people. They had not left yet. It must be the noise from the battle earlier that alarmed them. It really is that brat. He actually dares to appear. Because the first elder could not find him, he was scolded by the clan head. As a result, we were scolded by the first elder as well. This time we have to catch him. Send the signal. Quickly inform the first elder and the others. These words entered Xiaoqian's ears. He did his best to open his eyes, maintaining a trace of clarity in his mind. He looked in the direction of the valley. There were 10 cultivators, all of them martial masters. Kill. One of them shouted loudly. He held a thick saber in his hand and rushed at Xiaoqin. He saw that Xiaoqin was only a superior-grade martial disciple. Furthermore, he felt that something was wrong. He wanted to be the first to make a move. Drawing the saber. Xiaoqin executed the blue dragon cloud soaring art to its limits. His figure turned into a beam of light in the air. Together with the rushing thunder saber technique, he executed the lunar shadow saber. There was a flash of saber light. The Jiang clan cultivator who made the first move was instantly struck. Xiaoqin looked at the remaining 9 martial masters. Instead of retreating, he advanced. He held the lunar shadow saber and rushed forward. Bang! After he had taken a few steps, the cultivator that had been struck by his saber suddenly split into 2 halves with a loud bang, blood spraying everywhere. The remaining 9 martial masters turned pale with fright. They did not expect Xiaoqin, a superior-grade martial disciple, to be able to kill a martial master with one saber strike. This was simply inconceivable. They felt a chill in their hearts. What are you afraid of? No matter how strong he is just a superior-grade martial disciple. There are still 9 of us. What is there to be afraid of? Furthermore, the first elder is about to arrive. We just need to delay him for a while, a Jiang clan cultivator said to the others. Someone at the side agreed, that's right, there is no need to be afraid of him. He is just a superior-grade martial disciple. No matter how strong he is still a realm above us. Xiaoqin did not say anything. The situation was dire. He did not dare delay. He expended the essence in his body without any regard for his life. The 10 white clouds beside the azure dragon martial spirit and Xiaoqian's dantian moved quickly. A dense and pure essence flowed through his entire body. Drawing the saber. There was a flash of saber light. Xiaoqin made his move again. Under the execution of the blue dragon cloud soaring art, his figure became ethereal. The cultivator who spoke first was instantly chopped in half. Arc-light chop. Rushing heaven chop. Rushing thunder chop. Rushing thunder second chain chop. Within the valley, thunder roared and the wind howled. Saber lights flashed wantonly. Xiaoqian executed the rushing thunder saber technique with all his might. Although Xiaoqian's cultivation was only at the superior grade martial disciple realm, he had once reached the martial master realm. After these few days of cultivation, the purity and strength of the essence in his body were much stronger than these Jiang clan martial masters. Furthermore, with the heaven-ranked movement technique of the blue dragon cloud soaring art and the rushing thunder saber technique, which was comparable to an earth-ranked martial technique, these people were not a match for Xiaoqian. Every time the saber light flickered, it would claim a life. After the 5 moves of the rushing thunder saber technique were executed, there were only 4 Jiang clan cultivators left in the valley. Those 4 cultivators could only see Xiaoqian's figure. They could not see how Xiaoqian made his move. They only saw him killing 6 people in an instant. Seeing Xiaoqian like a killing god, they wanted to retreat and ran out of the valley. Seeing the 4 fleeing, Xiaoqian did not give chase. Instead, he headed out of the valley. He had to find a safe place to force the poison out of his body. Xiaoqian circulated his essence at full force, temporarily suppressing the poison in Xiaoqian's body. However, this was an extremely dangerous situation. If he could not force the poison out before it counterattacked, it would cause fatal damage to his body. Just as Xiaoqian walked out of the valley, he felt a strong aura chasing after him. He became serious. The Jiang clan experts had arrived. He quickened his pace. "Brat, where are you running to?" Behind him, the first elder of the Jiang clan, Jiangyunza, had an ashen complexion. He shouted loudly and leaped up from the ground. While he was in the air, he stepped on the trunk of a large tree. With a ferocious push, he leaped towards Xiaoqian. His figure increased in speed in the air, and he caught up to Xiaoqian in an instant. He sent a palm strike at Xiaoqian's back. Hearing the palm wind behind him, Xiaoqian turned around and exchanged a palm strike with Jiangyunza. He vomited a mouthful of blood, but he used Jiangyunza's palm strike to retreat at an even more horrifying speed. Jiangyunza could not help but feel angry. This brat actually used the force of his palm strike to increase the distance between them. Thinking about how he was scolded by Jiang Mingxuan in the Jiang residence yesterday, Jiangyunza roared angrily and gave chase again. Feeling Jiangyunza chasing after him again, Xiaoqian complained in his heart. Normally he would have been able to shake off this person long ago. However, at this moment he had to use his essence to suppress the poison in his body. He was unable to fully execute the blue dragon cloud soaring art, so his speed was much slower. "I have to think of a way," Xiaoqian thought anxiously. When he saw Jiangyunza getting closer, he suddenly stopped and slowly executed the gravity spell. When executing the gravity spell, its speed was rather slow. However, as long as he executed it, he would be able to fly into the sky and shake off the people below him. As for whether he would become a target for others after he flew into the sky, it was not within Xiaoqian's consideration for now. When Jiangyunza saw Xiaoqian suddenly stop, he felt joy in his heart. He immediately increased his pace and rushed towards Xiaoqian. He held the saber on his back in his hand. This time he would not give Xiaoqian any chance to borrow strength. He would kill him in one strike. Hoo! There was a flash of saber light. Just as the saber was about to strike Xiaoqian's body suddenly rose from the ground. After executing the gravity spell, he flew higher and higher. In the blink of an eye, he was more than 200 meters above the ground. It is actually a flying martial technique. Where did this person come from? A Jiang clan cultivator who rushed over said in astonishment when he saw Xiaoqian's figure in the sky. Jiangyunza looked coldly at Xiaoqian, who was in the sky. He said in a deep voice, "No matter where he came from, he snatched the Jiang clan's map and even injured the first young master. He has to pay the price. Hand me the bow." A cultivator quickly took out a long bow that flickered with a cold light and handed it to Jiangyunza. The bow flickered with a faint radiance, and a faint spiritual energy was emitted. This bow was actually a spirit weapon. Jiangyunza took out an arrow and drew the bowstring, forming a full moon shape. The tip of the arrow flashed with a cold light as he pointed it at Xiaoqian. So, the arrow buzzed and left the bowstring. It was extremely fast, flying towards Xiaoqian. Hearing the sound of the arrow tearing through the air, Xiaoqian let out a long sigh in his heart. Even at his peak, he did not dare say that he would be able to dodge this arrow. Xiaoqian did his best to dodge to the side, but this arrow still pierced through his right chest. If it were not for his spiritual sense detecting Jiangyunza's movements and dodging, this arrow would have pierced through his heart. A bloody hole the size of a finger appeared on the right side of his chest. Blood flowed out continuously and a heart-wrenching pain could be felt. Xiaoqian quickly took out a blood-replenishing pill and placed it in his mouth. Xiao Qin did his best to maintain the gravity spell as he continued to fly forward in a wobbly manner. The poison that had been suppressed for a long time was finally released. At this moment, the poison that he had been suppressing also became restless. His body staggered as though he would fall from the sky in the next moment. After searching for a week, I finally see you. Hua Yunfei stood on top of a tree in the distance. He looked very graceful, his long hair fluttered and his clothes fluttered in the wind. When he saw Xiao Qian's figure, he revealed a faint, evil smile. He turned into a blood river and headed in the direction of Xiao Qian, rushing through the air. Chapter 100. The blood river was like a churning red cloud in the sky. A horrifying evil aura emanated from the blood river in all directions, rippling in the sky. When Xiao Qian felt the blood river behind him, he was startled. Hua Yunfei had not left yet. That means Duanyuking and Chu Chaoyan are definitely still around. I have to hurry to the illusion formation. Pu Si. The blood river turned into a whirlwind in the sky. Its speed suddenly doubled and it caught up to Xiao Qian in an instant. After that, it turned into a human figure. Hua Yunfei sent a palm strike at Xiao Qian, smashing him down from the sky. Bang! Xiao Qian's body fell from the sky and landed on the ground with a loud thud. The qi and blood in his body churned continuously, and he vomited another mouthful of blood. His pale face became even more frightening. Hua Yunfei landed steadily from the sky and looked at Xiao Qian on the ground. He smiled disdainfully. I was wondering what kind of genius it was to actually force Duanyuking to reveal his inherited martial spirit. It turns out that you are just trash. Xiao Qian stood up slowly and looked at Hua Yunfei. You are just born with an innate bloodline. If I had not only awakened my martial spirit at the age of 15, even if I were severely injured, I would still be able to fight with you. You still dare to be stubborn. Hua Yunfei snorted coldly and moved quickly. Everywhere he passed, he left behind a trail of blood. In the blink of an eye, he arrived before Xiao Qian. He raised his leg and kicked Xiao Qian away. Boom! Xiao Qian's body flew backwards, breaking 3 large trees before landing heavily on the ground. After he landed, he vomited 3 mouthfuls of blood. His pale face no longer had any color. Hua Yunfei walked over and was surprised to see that Xiao Qian's body was in perfect condition. He said, I did not expect your body to be so strong. You did not even break a single rib from my kick. However, no matter how strong your body is, a superior grade martial disciple is still trash. Take out the sketch and I'll give you a quick death. Xiao Qian did not say anything. He slowly stood up and used his spiritual sense to seal the spirit blood jade, blocking Bai, who was trying to jump out. Xiao Qian held the lunar shadow saber in his hand and circulated his essence for the blue dragon returns to the sea. He looked coldly at Hua Yunfei. Hua Yunfei frowned slightly. Xiao Qian's gaze made him feel very uncomfortable. He snorted coldly and drew another line of blood on the ground. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of Xiao Qian and kicked Xiao Qian away. Bang! 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 Hua Yunfei used 50% of his strength in this kick. Xiao Qian's body flew back like a cannonball, breaking 5 trees in a row. Xiao Qian bent down and stabbed the lunar shadow saber into the ground, creating a long trench in the ground. Xiao Qian, who was holding the lunar shadow saber, did not fall to the ground this time. Black lines started to appear on his pale face. The poison that was suppressed in his body was finally starting to retaliate. Xiao Qian coughed out a few mouthfuls of black blood and laughed maniacally. Together with the dense black lines on his face, he looked extremely terrifying. Continue, did you not drink milk? With such little strength, you are not even comparable to a woman. Xiao Qian's mouth curled up into a cold smile as he mocked. Hua Yunfei's expression changed and his expression turned grave. An intense killing intent appeared in his eyes as he looked coldly at Xiao Qian. In his eyes, Xiao Qian was already a dead man. He pushed off the ground and leaped into the air. A scarlet afterimage appeared behind him as he sent a palm strike at Xiao Qian's head. Xiao Qian looked coldly at Hua Yunfei, who was rushing at him. He gently raised the lunar shadow saber in his hand and casually changed his stance. The tip of the saber pointed at Hua Yunfei. It was just a very casual stance. There did not seem to be any movement. It was no different from before. Xiao Qian still had the appearance of being severely injured and weak. However, Hua Yunfei's right eye twitched for no reason. He felt a sense of danger. It was like something in his heart had been hollowed out. Could it be that this brat still has a killing move? Hua Yunfei thought suspiciously. Never mind, even if he has a killing move, he will not have the chance to execute it. In another breath, I will be able to shatter his skull. Thinking of this, Hua Yunfei dispelled the uncomfortable feeling in his heart. He smiled coldly and continued to smash at Xiao Chen's skull. However, just at this moment Xiao Chen suddenly shouted. His aura suddenly changed, and a boundless aura surged out from his body like it could topple mountains and overturn seas. Time seemed to freeze. Hua Yunfei's palms stopped in front of Xiao Chen's skull, unable to advance any further. After an instant, an irresistible force came from Xiao Chen's body. Hua Yunfei's body was blown away like a goose feather. The surrounding quiet forest was like a roaring wave. A boundless ocean appeared behind Xiao Chen. Huge waves surged and churned. Layers upon layers of waves surged continuously. All the trees within a 500-meter radius were uprooted and smashed into pieces by the roaring waves. In the middle of the ocean, a blue dragon slowly emerged. It let out a long roar that resounded in all directions. In the periphery of savage forest, all the spirit beasts felt a tremble deep in their hearts, coming from their bloodline. They prostrated themselves on the ground and trembled. When a dragon is trapped in the shallows, prawns will play with it. When a tiger falls to the plains, it will be bullied by dogs. When a tiger falls to the plains, there will be a day when there will be a dragon's water. When the blue dragon goes out to sea, I will make the rivers flow in reverse. The might of an ancient holy beast burst out. Under this supreme might, Hua Yunfei felt the essence in his body running amok, not listening to his commands. It was as if his limbs had lost their function and he could not move at all. That destructive force was once again grasped by Xiao Chen. The blue dragon circled around in the air before diving down towards Hua Yunfei. Seeing the blue dragon flying over, Hua Yunfei felt despair. It is actually a heaven-ranked martial technique. How is this possible? Am I going to die here? Impossible. I have a mutated martial spirit that appears only once every 1,000 years in the Hua clan. It is rarely seen since ancient times. In this era I will definitely rise. How can an insignificant superior-grade martial disciple defeat me? Hua Yunfei screamed crazily in his heart. Suddenly, a figure walked out from the boundless blood river in his dantian. That person was dressed in scarlet clothes that merged with the blood river. It was as if he had come from the underworld. His body emitted a boundless evil aura. He raised his head and looked at the blue dragon in the sky. The corner of his mouth curled up into a sinister smile. Boom! That figure suddenly leaped out of the dantian and turned into a huge scarlet figure. It stood in the sky and raised its hand to block the blue dragon descending from the sky. Bang! A horrifying shockwave spread out in all directions. All the trees within 1,000 meters were chopped in half and turned into powder. All that was left in the surroundings were countless tree roots. The blue dragon roared angrily. It was another drawn-out dragon roar. The scarlet figure became more and more condensed. The ground under his feet cracked and Hua Yunfei fell down. Seeing that the blue dragon was unstoppable, the scarlet figure let out a long sigh. It turned into a scarlet viscous substance and wrapped around Hua Yunfei. Bang! Without any obstruction, the blue dragon crashed into Hua Yunfei's body. Countless rocks flew out from the hole in the ground. Hua Yunfei's body continued to fall. He did not know how long he had been falling. After a long time, there were continuous explosions in the hole before it slowly stopped. All the blood vessels in Xiao Chen's body ruptured. Countless amounts of black blood spurted out in all directions. His face revealed an expression of extreme pain as he knelt on the ground with a piu tong sound. His flesh and blood were drying up at a speed visible to the naked eye. It was just like when he first awakened his martial spirit. It was obvious that the blue dragon had exhausted too much of his martial spirit. Furthermore, he did not have any excess essence in his body. The blue dragon in the martial spirit continued to absorb the spiritual energy in his flesh and blood. After a long time, Xiao Chen's originally sturdy body was now just skin and bones. His eyes were sunken in and his skin was shriveled. However, the surprising thing was that when the blue dragon martial spirit absorbed his flesh and blood, it also absorbed all the toxins in his body. In the distant sky, an ice phoenix and a sword image descended rapidly. Duanyuking and Chu Chaoyun stood firmly on the ground. The two of them looked at their surroundings. There were countless broken tree roots and deep ravines on the ground. They were astonished. Chu Chaoyun walked slowly to the huge hole and looked at Hua Yunfei lying at the bottom. A murderous intent flashed in his eyes. The sword on his back buzzed continuously. Duanyuking said expressionlessly, "Do you want to kill him?" Chu Chaoyun smiled calmly and said indifferently, "If I had the opportunity, I would not have hesitated to make a move. Unfortunately, it was a blessing in disguise for him. He has awakened the origin of his mutated martial spirit. If I wanted to kill him, I'm afraid that the moment my killing intent appeared, it would immediately awaken him. After today he will become even more terrifying. Duamyuking walked over slowly. His eyes were filled with astonishment. The origin of an inherited martial spirit is already hard to awaken. A mutated inherited martial spirit is even harder to awaken. I'm afraid that no one in the younger generation of Dongming province will be a match for him in the future. Chu Chaoyun smiled faintly. He turned his gaze to Xiaoqin, who was lying on the ground like a dried corpse. He said, "In such a large Dongming province, there are definitely many hidden geniuses. Don't just focus on the three factions. Who knows, there might be someone in front of you who can be a match for him." Duamyuking revealed a faint look of pity on her beautiful face. This person can be considered to have great fortuitous encounters. I wonder how he obtained a heaven-ranked martial technique. Unfortunately, he overestimated himself and executed it across realms. Furthermore, this is not the first time he executed a heaven-ranked martial technique. If he executed it again, he would probably die on the spot. Without a heaven-ranked martial technique, what can he use to compete with Hua Yunfei? In the end, he is just a superior grade martial disciple. Hua Yunfei did not continue discussing this topic. He said, "How are you going to deal with the ancient remnant map on him? Are you going to include Hua Yunfei as well?" Just as Duamyuking was about to reply, a resplendent scarlet light shot out from the spirit blood jade on Xiaoqian's chest. Bai finally broke through the barrier that Xiaoqian had set up. It looked at Xiaoqian, who was lying on the ground like a dried corpse, and let out a mournful cry. The pure gaze in its eyes suddenly turned scarlet. Boom! A huge six-tailed spirit fox appeared in front of the two of them. A monstrous aura was emitted from its body. The 6 huge tails on its back soared into the sky, and its fur stood on end. It looked very horrifying. "Not good, this little fellow is going berserk. Let's leave quickly." The two of them were startled. They quickly used their own methods to escape into the sky. Bai opened its mouth, and the surrounding spiritual energy surged into its mouth. The mysterious 9 heavenly revolution transformation circulated continuously. Boundless essence was compressed into 9 streams, forming a huge ball of light. The ball of light spun continuously. It was resplendent and dazzling. A strong wind blew in the surroundings, and in an instant, leaves flew everywhere. Broken rocks flew everywhere and dust flew everywhere. It was very majestic. Boom! The ball of light flashed in the air, moving in a lightning-like arc. The 2 fleeing people were instantly struck by it. They both vomited a mouthful of blood and fell heavily to the ground. Bai looked at Xiaoqian on the ground, and its scarlet eyes turned misty. It carried Xiaoqian on its back and quickly fled into the distance. Chapter 101. Within the illusion formation in an empty space beside the Zhuang River, Xiaoqian lay on the ground like a dried corpse. It was unknown whether he was dead or alive. Bai's body had already returned to its normal state. After going berserk, it was extremely weak and had no energy. However, when it saw Xiaoqian's appearance, it did not immediately rest. Instead, it quickly ran out. 4 hours later, it ran back covered in blood. In its claws, it held a medicinal fruit that was glowing brightly. If Xiaoqian had not fainted, he would have recognized it. The medicinal fruit in Bai's hands was called red core pomelo. It was the most important ingredient for refining the peak-grade healing pill, the cloud-returning pill. The red core pomelo grew in the depths of savage forest. Wherever it went, there would definitely be strong spirit beasts guarding it. Bai dragged its weak body and ran to pick the medicinal herb. It was unknown how severely injured it was. Bai found the porcelain bowl that Xiaoqian usually drank from. It smashed the red core pomelo and turned it into a refreshing medicinal liquid. Bai held the bowl and fed the medicinal liquid into Xiaoqian's mouth. In the end, it left a bit on the arrow wound on Xiaoqian's chest. After doing all this, Bai's anxious mood relaxed slightly. Its exhausted body immediately turned into a beam of white light and flew into the spirit blood jade. The medicinal energy of the red core pomelo slowly entered Xiaoqian's body. To regular cultivators, consuming it directly was a taboo. This was because the medicinal energy contained in the original medicinal fruit was very tyrannical. If one was careless, their qi and blood would surge and their body would explode. A regular alchemist would refine this red core pomelo into 10 or even tens of essence-returning pills, spreading out the medicinal energy. Only then would it be suitable for cultivators with lower cultivations to consume. However, Xiaoqian's current situation was rather special. His body was like a building waiting to be rebuilt. The qi and blood in his body were extremely sparse. If there was another red core pomelo, he could consume it directly. Within Whitewater City, people saw the Jiang clan's first elder, Duamyuking Hua Yunfei, and Chu Chaoyun walking out of savage forest in sorry states. This was especially true for Hua Yunfei. His face was pale and his qi and blood were weak. It was obvious that he had suffered serious internal injuries. Whitewater City was in an uproar. To think that Xiaoqin could cause so many people to return in defeat. Who exactly was he? In Dongming Province, the inheritors of the three great sacred lands were all injured by him. This was especially true for Hua Yunfei. Hua Yunfei was only 17 years old, and he had awakened a variant martial soul. Ever since he had started cultivating, he had never been defeated by someone of the same generation. In fact, even some of the older generation would be afraid of him. Wherever the river of blood passes, there will be no survivors. When the people of Dongming Province talked about Hua Yunfei, they would think of this sentence. There was even a vague title of him as the top expert of Dongming Province's younger generation. Many of the big shots of Dongming Province believed that he was the most likely person to become Emperor Wu's successor after the Thunder King in the past 1,000 years. However, no one expected that in this small whitewater city, Hua Yunfei would actually be injured by a superior grade martial disciple. If word of this got out, no one would dare believe it. Instantly, the rumors about Xiaoqin were brought up continuously. Some said he was the heir of a hidden clan, some said he was the last disciple of a sect, and there were even more ridiculous people who said he was a cultivator from the Great Jin dynasty. Whitewater City, Jiang Clan, Great Hall. Jiang Mingxuan smacked the table violently and scolded, "Jiang Yunza, what kind of first elder are you? You are a peak martial grand master, yet you can't even deal with a superior grade martial disciple. Aren't you embarrassed?" Jiang Yunza, who was below, said with some dissatisfaction, "Even the heirs of the three powers were injured by him. I managed to injure him with one arrow." When Jiang Mingxuan heard this, he was angered to the extreme. His face turned ashen as he scolded angrily, "You think you are in the right? The map was nearly obtained by them. Do you want me to praise you?" Jiang Yunza knew he said the wrong thing. He quickly lowered his head and said, "Clan head, I understand. I will rush back now. If I do not capture that brat personally, I will not return." Jiang Mingxuan had a sinister expression on his face as he smiled coldly, "If you really cannot capture him, you can kill him on the spot. If the map really ends up in the hands of the three powers, you can forget about your position as first elder." Jiang Yunza's back was drenched in cold sweat. After he got up and took his leave, he scolded Xiaoqin several times in his heart. "If I catch you, I will make you suffer a fate worse than death." Not long after Jiang Yunza left, a Jiang clan disciple rushed in and said to Jiang Mingxuan, reporting to clan head, "Someone offered a map of the ancient ruins at the stronghold of the clan east of the city and took away 1,000 gold taels." When Jiang Mingxuan heard this, he felt joy in his heart. Could it be that another cultivator killed that brat? He quickly said, "Quick, hand it over for me to take a look." Before that Jiang family disciple could hand over the sketch in his hand to Jiang Mingxuan, another Jiang family disciple rushed into the hall and reported in a loud voice, reporting to family head, "Someone has offered a sketch of the ruins at a stronghold in the west of the city and has taken away 1,000 taels of gold." Jiang Mingxuan felt suspicious in his heart. Why were there two maps? Could one of them be fake? Reporting to clan head, "Someone offered a map of the ancient ruins at the stronghold of the clan north of the city and took away 1,000 gold taels." Reporting to clan head. Just as Jiang Mingxuan was feeling suspicious, a few more people rushed in and reported that they had received a map of the ancient ruins. Including the two people from before, they had received a total of 10 maps, spending 10,000 gold taels. 10,000 gold taels was not a small sum. The Jiang clan's annual income was only 1,000,000 gold taels. Anyone would feel heartache when they lost a tenth of their income. Jiang Mingxuan suppressed the anger in his heart and looked through the 10 maps in his hands. He discovered that they were all fake. Furthermore, these 10 maps were almost exactly the same. It was obvious that they were drawn by the same person. Jiang Mingxuan laughed coldly in his heart. It had already been more than 100 years since anyone dared to mess with the Jiang clan in Whitewater City. He was the one who posted this reward. Of course, he knew that there was a loophole that could be exploited. However, he did not expect that there would be someone who dared to exploit this loophole. In the past 100 years, the Jiang clan had been the strongest clan in Whitewater City. It was because of this confidence that he dared to post this reward. However, he did not expect that there would be someone who dared to exploit this loophole. He said coldly, "Within 3 days, find out who is behind this. I want to exterminate his entire clan. Do they really think that my Jiang clan is a pushover?" A person at the side immediately left to carry out the order. At this moment, a cultivator at the side whispered, "Clan head, There seems to be two words hidden in this map. When Jiang Mingxuan heard this, his expression turned serious. He casually picked up a map and looked at it carefully. There was a faint gap between the lines of the mountains and rivers drawn in the map. It was indeed a Chinese character with a stroke and a stroke. After a long time, Jiang Mingxuan muttered to himself, "This seems to be an idiot." Bang! Jiang Mingxuan clenched his right fist tightly and fiercely punched the table on which the sketch was placed. With a loud bang, the wooden table was immediately smashed into countless pieces. The 10 people kneeling on the ground trembled in fear. They had never seen Jiang Mingxuan so angry before. Even when the first elder came in, Jiang Mingxuan's expression was not this scary. Jiang Mingxuan's old face was as red as a pig's liver. He said agitatedly, "A bunch of trash. Scram. If you receive such a map in the future, you will all scram from the Jiang clan." Jiang Mingxuan was filled with hatred. This person who used a fake map to exchange for the bounty did not care about the Jiang clan at all. He had a huge appetite, exchanging it for 10,000 taels of gold in one go. Furthermore, he wrote the word idiot on the map openly. It was clear that he did it on purpose. How disgusting was this person to do such an infuriating thing? It was fine if you exchanged a fake map for money, you could have made a fortune in silence. However, you even wrote idiot on it? If this was not a slap in the face, what was? Jiang Mingxuan was actually acting like an idiot. He had read those two words out loud. This was unbearable. Jiang Mingxuan felt a nefarious fire in his heart that he could not release. The more he thought about it, the more sullen he felt. He roared angrily and punched and kicked the tables and chairs in the hall. He only felt better after he smashed everything he could see. However, when he thought about it, these things were worth a lot. Added together, they were worth at least 10,000 taels of gold. They were gone just like that. The nefarious fire in his heart could not help but reignite. In a luxurious room in Liuxiang Pavilion. Back when Liuxiang Pavilion was reduced to rubble, many people thought it would take at least 3 months for it to reopen. It was unknown what methods Kim Taeho used, but he miraculously rebuilt Liuxiang Pavilion within 3 days. Furthermore, it was bigger, taller, and more luxurious. Its business was even more prosperous. A manservant handed Jean Fatso banknotes worth 10,000 taels of gold to Jean Fatso. He said with a face full of worship, "Young master, it is as you expected." That group of people did not know what the real map looked like. They actually managed to exchange it for money. Jean Fatso laughed loudly and took the banknotes. The fat on his face trembled as he laughed loudly. No wonder he has such a foolish son. So his father is an idiot as well. I managed to recoup all the money I spent on rebuilding Liuxiang Pavilion. There is still more. Jean Fatso carefully put away the banknotes and said to the manservant, "Go and find someone to sell this map in Whitewater City. Just say that it was leaked from the Jiang residence. Every copy is worth 1,000 taels of silver. Those cultivators who think they are powerful will definitely go and buy it." The manservant said with some hesitation, "Are we going to sell it without any changes? That is not appropriate. Are we not going to change the words on it?" Fatso muttered to himself for a while before saying, "It is indeed not appropriate. If we were to sell it like this without any changes, it would not show off the genius of this fat lord. How about this?" Fatso's eyes lit up and he smiled. "Add the word big in front of idiot. Remember to make it more poetic. I don't need to teach you what poetry is, right?" The manservant nearly vomited blood. "You might as well not change it at all. It is because you wrote idiot that I asked you to change it. You actually added the word big. If this is not infuriating, then what is?" Finally, the manservant could not take it anymore. He asked, "Young master, didn't you always say that when doing business, you should be honest with the old and the young? Isn't this a little too much?" Fatty Jean laughed and scolded. He used the golden folding fan in his hand to hit the manservant fiercely and said, "Deceiving both the young and the old is a normal person. Even a fool would buy a normal person?" Letting out a heavy sigh, Fatty Jean opened the golden folding fan in his hand with a swoosh and said regretfully, "Intelligence, this thing is too high. It really is a kind of melancholy. It seems like no one in this world can understand me, so lonely." Before Fatso could finish speaking, the manservant quickly ran out. He felt his insides churning. If he stayed any longer, he might vomit out the food he ate for lunch. Chapter 102. Within the illusion formation beside the Zhuang River, Xiaoqian was still lying motionless on the riverbank. 3 days had passed and his shriveled skin had filled up a little. However, he still looked as skinny as a log, as though he was malnourished. The poison had gathered on his skin, causing his fair skin to turn dark. Another 3 days passed. Dark clouds covered the sky, making it gloomy. In the blink of an eye, bean-sized droplets of rain fell from the sky, hitting Xiao Chen's face with a pitter-patter. The torrential rain poured down, lightning flashed, and thunder roared. On the Zhuang River, the water level rose rapidly. The turbulent river water became even more turbulent as it flowed away. Chi-chi. The raindrops fell on Xiao Chen's tightly shut eyes. His eyelids could not help but twitch. After a long time, he opened his tightly shut eyes to a slit. The raindrops seeped through the slit and entered his eyes mercilessly. It was misty and the scene in the sky was blurry. Amidst the misty water, Xiao Chen seemed to be able to see his parents from his previous life. Because of his departure, his mother wept uncontrollably every day, and his father sighed all day long. The hair on his temples had turned white. "Dad, Mom?" Xiao Chen muttered softly. It was unknown whether it was rainwater or tears that flowed out from the corners of his eyes. He had never felt as lonely as he did now. Despite the vastness of the world, there was no place for him to stay. In the face of this torrential rain, there was not even a straw hut to shelter him from the rain. He stretched out his right hand with great difficulty, trying to grasp the vague yet familiar figures of his parents. The bean-sized raindrops continuously struck Xiao Chen's right hand, mercilessly extinguishing his fantasies. The figures of his parents in the sky slowly disappeared. Familiar figures appeared one after another in Mo City. Xiaoyulan watched him leave in Mo City, his heartbroken appearance. Yilan, Xiao Ling and the other companions of the trial of Gloomy Forest, kneeling in front of Xiao Xiong for his sake. Feng Feishue, dressed in men's clothing, held a folding fan in her hand and gracefully arrived at dawn. The various scenes of the past appeared before his eyes. Mo City, I have been gone for so long, do you still remember me? Cousin Yulan, did you go to the Heavenly Qin School with Xiao Jian? Xiao Jian, will your hatred for me lessen because of my departure? Feng Feishue, you first gave me the Blue Dragon Medicine Cauldron, then you gave me the Blue Dragon Cloud Soaring Art. What exactly is your identity? Xiao Xiong, why are you chasing me out of the Xiao clan just because I possess the Blue Dragon martial spirit? Why are you so heartless towards me? The blurry scene in the sky disappeared completely, leaving only a misty mist. The torrential rain washed away Xiao Chen's memories over and over again. When all the memories disappeared, Xiao Chen's heart became clear again, and the mist in his eyes disappeared. He looked at the pouring rain and his mind became pensive. Xiao Chen struggled for a moment and got up from the ground. He supported himself with his right hand and slowly stood up. His body staggered a little. Because he had been lying on the ground for a long time, his blood circulation was not good. His head was dizzy and he almost fell down again. After a while, all the blood in his body flowed smoothly. Xiao Chen slowly walked towards the Zhuang River, drenched in the torrential rain. A blurry image appeared in the water, revealing Xiao Chen's skinny body and dark skin. Xiao Chen smiled bitterly and muttered, "A heaven-ranked martial technique is indeed not something that I can execute now. If I were to execute it again, I would probably die a horrible death." Suddenly, he remembered the first time he executed the Blue Dragon martial technique. He was saved by Xiao Yulan, and she took good care of him as well as the table of delicious food. Now that the two of them were far apart, he did not know when they would meet again. He could not help but feel melancholy in his heart. Recollecting his thoughts, Xiao Chen found a flat rock. He hesitated for a while before sitting cross-legged on it. He took out the 7-leaf fruit from the universe ring, and a refreshing medicinal fragrance instantly spread out. A seemingly solid golden aura surrounded it, and even the rain was unable to penetrate it. Without any hesitation, Xiao Chen swallowed this natural treasure that even the black-legged snake did not dare to swallow. Xiao Chen's qi and blood were extremely weak now. Even if he consumed a red heart pomelo, it would not be enough. He needed to replenish his qi and blood. He did not have to worry about his qi and blood being too vigorous, causing his body to explode. The 7-leaf fruit melted in his mouth, turning into a refreshing medicinal liquid. It flowed through the meridians in Xiao Chen's body, circulating throughout his entire body. After one cycle, a horrifying essence energy surged out from every part of Xiao Chen's body. An incomparably vigorous qi and blood surged continuously in his body, flowing along the meridians and acupoints, heading straight for the Tianding acupoint in Xiao Chen's brain. Xiao Chen's body gave off a faint golden glow. When the pea-sized raindrops landed on it, they immediately evaporated into a mist. In an instant, the stone platform was covered in a mist. Within the mist, there was a figure emitting a golden glow. In the heavy rain he looked extremely divine. The 7-leaf flower bloomed once every 20 years. All 7 petals needed 140 years to bloom. After another 20 years, it would bear a 7-leaf fruit. The birth of a 7-leaf fruit required a total of 160 years. During these 160 years, the 7-leaf fruit would continuously absorb the purest spiritual energy in the world. By the time it bloomed and bore fruit, the spiritual energy it contained would have reached an unimaginable level. This was the purest and densest spiritual energy. It could directly raise a cultivator's cultivation realm by 1 grade. Although Xiaochen had anticipated the strength of the 7-leaf fruit, he had still underestimated the spiritual energy contained in the 7-leaf fruit. Faintly he could not grasp it. Xiaochen quickly circulated the purple thunder divine incantation and slowly refined this vigorous medicinal energy. A surging purple mist continuously rose from the top of his head. The bones and flesh on Xiaochen's skin and bones grew at a visible rate. His shriveled skin slowly filled up. Xiaochen's dark cheeks looked like they were carved by a knife. They gave off an oppressive feeling of a treasured sword being unsheathed, revealing its sharpness. After the purple thunder divine incantation circulated 3 minor cycles, Xiaochen finally managed to control the medicinal energy. He continued to circulate the purple thunder divine incantation, preparing to make use of this opportunity to raise his cultivation realm during this torrential rain. Dark clouds covered the sky, churning and churning. Thunder rumbled continuously in the clouds. The merciless torrential rain and strong winds blew increasingly louder. There was the sound of wind, rain, thunder, the rushing river, and a waterfall in the surroundings. Even further away, there were the chirping of insects and the low cries of spirit beasts. When the sounds entered his ears, Xiaochen's mind became clear. He entered a state where he forgot himself, drifting between reality and illusion, comprehending everything in the world. The purple thunder divine incantation circulated a great cycle. The surging medicinal energy contained in the 7-leaf fruit merged with the spiritual energy absorbed by the purple thunder divine incantation and flowed into his dantian. Bang! There were no obstructions at the location of the martial spirit in his dantian. The 10 white clouds immediately exploded and turned into primal chaos. The clouds scattered and a pool of clear water appeared in the primal chaos of his dantian. This pool of water was at least twice as large as it was when Xiaochen advanced in the past. When Xiaochen felt this energy, he felt a chill run down his spine. Xiaochen was incomparably joyful. He had actually advanced to peak medial grade martial master. He was only a step away from becoming a superior grade martial master. Xiaochen had reached the point where he could advance again long ago. He had been suppressing this energy to strengthen his foundation. He did not expect that this time he would be able to use the 7-leaf fruit to advance to peak medial grade martial master. Boom! Suddenly, there was an incomparably intense explosion of thunder in the sky. Due to the influence of the thunder, there were also countless explosions of thunder in Xiaochen's body clanging together. Every single one of the 700-odd acupoints in Xiaochen's body crackled with thunder, resonating with the explosion of thunder in the sky. For a moment, it was unknown if the thunder in the sky was guiding the thunder in Xiaochen's body or if Xiaochen was guiding the thunder in the sky to roar for him. Every time the thunder in his acupoints crackled, Xiaochen would feel the energy contained in his body increase. This thunder was actually tempering his body. Suddenly, Xiaochen thought of a record in the compendium of cultivation. After the purple thunder divine incantation was cultivated to the 3rd layer, every time it advanced, it could cause a mysterious phenomenon, bringing great opportunities to the cultivator. According to the legends, after cultivating to the 7th layer, one would have to undergo a lightning tribulation. From the looks of it today, this legend should be true. When the thunder stopped, the purple thunder divine incantation in Xiaochen's body suddenly changed. The circulation speed actually became faster. At this moment, the purple thunder divine incantation advanced. The torrential rain gradually stopped and the dark clouds scattered. Sunlight reappeared and the forest regained its vitality. The cries of birds and beasts could be heard continuously. Xiaochen suddenly opened his eyes. The purple thunder true fire in his body suddenly surged out from his pores. Finally, it gathered together and turned into a dazzling purple flame, floating in front of him. After the purple thunder divine incantation advanced to the 3rd layer, the purple thunder true fire also underwent a qualitative change. It finally became an origin flame. In the future, it would no longer be a flame without a root. With a thought from Xiaochen, the origin flame of the purple thunder true fire turned into a beam of purple light and entered his right eye. Instantly, a boundless sea of fire appeared in his right eye. It was like the entire universe was covered in flames. Finally, the boundless universe started to converge. The purple flame turned into a purple light and disappeared into Xiao Chen's right eye. His right eye regained its calm. After jumping off the stone platform, Xiao Chen felt his entire body filled with boundless energy. Every move he made contained a great might. Stepping on the muddy ground, Xiao Chen arrived at the bank of the Zhuang River. He waved his hand and a rhombus-shaped purple flame appeared in his right eye. It gave off an incomparably demonic glow. A surging flame appeared in Xiao Chen's hand and landed on the calm Zhuang River. T. The horrifying purple flame burned on the surface of the river, giving off a zzz sound. After a long time, the purple flame disappeared. The water level of the Zhuang River had actually dropped by a finger's width. Chapter 103. Seeing the might of the purple thunder true fire, Xiao Chen revealed an astonished expression. He did not expect the purple thunder true fire's origin flame to be so strong. Xiao Chen took out another wooden staff and placed it on the ground. He held the lunar shadow saber in his hand and raised his spirit, qi and spirit to the peak. His mind entered an empty state. There is only me in the world, only the saber. Drawing the saber, chop. Shwa, shwa, shwa. Xiao Chen chopped out 9 times and the wooden staff broke into 9 pieces. However, this feather-light wooden staff still did not move at all. It did not show any signs of moving. Xiao Chen sheathed his saber and revealed a satisfied smile. This drawing the saber was finally not far from great perfection. Xiao Chen took out the 7 petals of the 7-leaf flower from the universe ring and thought for a while. Then he returned to the flat rock and sat down cross-legged. Xiao Chen plucked a red petal and slowly placed it in his mouth. The moment the petal entered his mouth, it instantly seeped into Xiao Chen's flesh. Following that, he felt a heart-wrenching pain. There was not a single part of his body that did not hurt. It was like being pricked by needles. Xiao Chen clenched his teeth and endured. This was the 7-leaf flower cleansing his bones, skin and flesh. He had to experience this pain. Xiao Chen felt like his skin was peeling off. Even the slightest movement of the grass or a gentle breeze would cause intense pain. Xiao Chen did not dare to open his mouth. He was afraid that if he opened his mouth, he would not be able to resist biting off his tongue. In an instant, his face was covered in sweat. He was like a person made of water. This heart-wrenching pain lasted for 2 hours before it stopped. The instant the pain disappeared, all the hair on Xiao Chen's body opened up. An indescribable feeling of comfort spread throughout his body. His dark skin also underwent an extreme change. It became snow-white like a beautiful jade. It was a sight to behold. Xiao Chen could clearly feel the strength of his physical body increase significantly. He rejoiced and did not hesitate to take out another white petal and place it in his mouth. Finally, Xiao Chen placed all 7 different colored petals in his mouth. This feeling was inhumane torture. Every time he sucked in a petal, the pain would double. By the time he sucked in the 7th petal, the pain was indescribable in words. Xiao Chen almost fainted from the pain. If not for his spiritual consciousness being much stronger than the average person, Xiao Chen feared that he would have really fainted, never to wake up again. Bang, bang, bang. Xiao Chen stood up from the stone platform, the bones in his body crackling non-stop. His bones, which had undergone marrow cleansing 7 times, began to reshape. After the remodeling, Xiao Chen realized that he had grown taller. His height, which was originally close to 1.7 meters, had now grown to 1.8 meters, an increase of 1 centimeter. His face, which seemed to have been carved by a knife, became even more distinct. His originally sharp aura was restrained, like a treasured sword that had not been unsheathed. A flicker of light occasionally flashed in his eyes. His aura immediately became sharp, like a treasured sword being drawn out of its sheath, emitting a sharp, cold light. His body had already been tempered by the heavenly lightning. Now that he had undergone the marrow cleansing from the 7-leaf flowers, his body had become shockingly strong. Jumping down from the stone platform, Xiao Chen did not use any essence. He only used the strength of his body and ruthlessly smashed his palm against a huge rock beside him. Bang! Countless tiny cracks instantly appeared on the rock. The cracks spread continuously. With a schwa sound, the huge rock shattered into countless stone fragments, flying wildly in the air. Xiao Chen looked at the stone fragments falling to the ground and sighed in his heart. When Xiao Chen first came to this world, he could not awaken his martial spirit. At that time, his biggest dream was to cultivate a strong physical body. This was because in this world, there were indeed people who did not awaken their martial spirits, but relied on their physical body to become a sage. Who would have thought that today he had already reached the small success stage of his physical body on a different path? The bright sun shone down on the ground without reservation. Occasionally the calm surface of the Zhuang River reflected a dazzling light. Xiaoqin leaned against the rock and took out the map of the ancient remnant that caused him to be chased endlessly from his universe ring. He had looked at this map many times before. However, he did not discover anything. The location of the ancient remnant on the map should be somewhere in the inner regions of Savage Forest. Unfortunately, Xiaoqin had never been to the inner regions of Savage Forest before. He could not make out the location of the ancient remnant on the map. Only a person who was extremely familiar with the inner regions of Savage Forest would be able to understand this map. The ancient remnant of an ancient human being would definitely have valuable treasures. Holy weapons, battle armors, high-ranked spirit weapons, ancient martial techniques, secret treasures. All of these had a fatal attraction to Xiaoqin. The ancient era was 10,000 years earlier than the Jianghu dynasty. It was the most glorious period of the human race. Sages roamed the streets and martial emperors roamed the land. They could split mountains, move rivers, and drain seas. There was even a legend that a martial god was born in that era. He could pluck the stars and the moon and spit out stars from his mouth. Unfortunately, that glorious period was lost in the long river of time. The inheritance of the ancient human race was not left behind. There was a gap between the Jianghu dynasty and the ancient era. No one knew what happened during that period of time. The ancient humans seemed to have disappeared just like that. Most people believed that the ancient humans were exterminated by the demons of the demonic world. After all, the Jianghu dynasty from tens of thousands of years ago was destroyed by a demonic calamity. However, aside from the orthodox three holy masters, no one knew the truth. The three holy masters had never revealed any information about the ancient era. Xiaoqin was very interested in the ancient era. This was because he had a faint feeling that the blue dragon martial spirit in his body might have appeared in the ancient era. Unfortunately, he was not familiar with the inner regions of Savage Forest. This map was useless to him. I have to find someone to work with, Xiaoqin thought to himself. When this thought appeared in his mind, a figure immediately appeared in his mind. And it's him. A smile appeared on Xiaoqin's face as he said indifferently. After Xiaoqin spoke, he sent his spiritual sense into the spirit blood jade. He looked at the unconscious Bai and the smile on his face slowly disappeared. A murderous intent flashed in his eyes as he muttered, "It is time to go out. I can deal with these two matters at the same time." After leaving the illusion formation, Xiaoqin headed for the outskirts of Savage Forest. Not long after, he met a group of cultivators who had entered the outskirts of Savage Forest to train. Xiaoqin's current appearance had changed a lot compared to before. His originally somewhat immature temperament had disappeared without a trace. He had become incomparably steady. When that group of cultivators saw Xiaoqin walk past them, they did not pay much attention to him until Xiaoqin had walked a distance away. One of the cultivators seemed to have thought of something and took out a portrait. "Look, does that person look like the person wanted by the Jiang clan?" That cultivator asked the people around him as he held the portrait. Someone at the side took a careful look and said, "It does not look like it. The Jiang clan's people clearly put out a wanted youth of 16 or 17 years old. However, the aura of the person who just walked over is completely unlike a youth." Another person said, "I don't think so either. That person was obviously a medial grade martial master." However, the Jiang clan said that the person in the portrait was only a superior grade martial disciple. It has only been a few days and no one has been able to raise their cultivation by so much. However, I feel that it is very similar. I can't explain why. In any case, it just feels like it. Someone at the side gave a different opinion. The leader of this group of people was a man with a terrifying scar on his face. As he watched Xiaoqin leave, he did not say anything. After a while, he suddenly opened his mouth and said in a deep voice, "It is indeed the person in the portrait." Although he changed his clothes, he did not change his shoes. Everyone quickly looked over. Indeed, the shoes of the person in the portrait were the same as those of the person they were looking for. After they found this clue, the more they looked at it, the more they were certain that it was the same person. "Boss, should we do it?" The Jiang clan promised 1,000 gold taels. 1,000 years of gold is equivalent to our annual income. That's right, he is just a medial grade martial master. Everyone here is a martial master. Boss, you are a peak martial master. There is no need to be afraid. The man with the scar smiled sinisterly and said, "Do you think I am a fool? I sent ninth brother to follow him long ago. He left marks along the way and is just waiting for us to make our move." Boss is indeed the boss. You are indeed able to see further than us. Everyone immediately flattered him. A ruthless look flashed in the eyes of the man with the scar. He smiled and scolded, "Cut the crap. Quickly follow him." The group did not go far before they saw the mark that ninth brother had left. They immediately felt joy in their hearts and increased their pace. When they thought of the Jiang clan's 1,000 gold taels, a look of greed flashed in everyone's eyes. Where is ninth brother's mark? Why can't I see it? After walking for quite a distance, the group suddenly discovered that the mark that had been guiding them had disappeared. The man with the scar saw some ashes not far away. He had a bad premonition. Where is ninth brother's man? Where did he go? Even if he was killed, we should be able to see his corpse. I see him. Xiaoqin is over there, someone in the group suddenly shouted. The group looked in the direction he pointed and immediately saw Xiaoqin's figure beside a big tree. When the man with the scar heard the voices of the group, he quickly put down the doubts in his heart and looked in that direction. He saw Xiaoqin standing quietly beside the big tree. It was as though he had already anticipated the arrival of the group. There was no change in his expression and his black eyes were tightly shut. No one could guess what he was thinking. The man with the scar suddenly felt that something was wrong. He wanted to say something to stop his subordinates. However, their eyes were already filled with greed. They raised their sabers and charged at Xiaoqin. Xiaoqin suddenly opened his right eye and his aura changed. His clothes fluttered and his black hair fluttered. He was like a treasured sword being unsheathed. A cold light flashed, revealing its sharpness. There seemed to be a boundless flame burning in the depths of his eyes. Finally, it gathered into a rhombus-shaped purple flame. The purple light was connected to Xiaoqin's spiritual sense. He had already silently planted a trace of origin fire seed in these people's bodies. When Xiaoqin opened his right eye and the purple light formed, the origin fire seed in these people's bodies was immediately ignited. Purple flames soared up from their bodies. They did not even have time to cry out before they turned into a pile of ashes. Although the man with the scar knew that something was wrong, he had already retreated backwards. However, his left hand was still ignited. He decisively used his saber and chopped off his left hand. Seeing the ashes on the ground, he opened his mouth wide, unable to say anything. His face was filled with horror. A group of people who were alive earlier had actually turned into ashes without a sound. Is this a demon? The man with the scar finally knew what the pile of ashes he saw earlier was. However, it was too late. Xiaoqin held the lunar shadow saber and slowly walked towards him. The forest was extremely quiet. There was only the sound of Xiaoqin's footsteps and the beating heart of the man with the scar. Chapter 104. Pu-ci. There was a spurt of blood in the air. A horrifying wound appeared on the chest of the scarred man. He had never seen a medial-grade martial master execute such a fast saber strike. He regretted that he had sacrificed his life and the lives of his brothers because he coveted that 1,000 taels of gold. However, there was no medicine for regret in this world. When he sent Xiaojiu to follow Xiaoqin, his fate was sealed. Xiaoqin sheathed his saber and stood upright. He sank his consciousness and looked at the essence in his body that had been reduced by half. He sighed in his heart, the exhaustion is too great. It seems like I can only use this move as my trump card. Normally, after using this move twice, the essence in my body would be completely exhausted. This was the first time Xiaoqin used the purple thunder true fire's origin flame with his spiritual sense to kill an enemy. The effects were rather satisfactory, but the exhaustion of essence was too great. There was a bag on the scarred man's back. It was the harvest of this group of people in the periphery of Savage Forest for a month. Xiaoqin took it out and took a look. After he took the rank 3 spirit core and a few rank 4 herbs, he did not bother with the rest. Not long after Xiaoqin left, a group of Jiang clan cultivators discovered the situation here. They quickly informed Jiang Yunza rushed over at top speed. When he saw the wound on the scarred man's chest, he revealed a contemplative expression. First Elder, what do you think? Was it done by that brat? A Jiang clan cultivator asked. After a while, Jiang Yunza said, the wound on his chest is the same as the one from a few days ago. It should be done by the same person. The Jiang clan cultivator at the side said in pleasant surprise, that brat finally came out. Looking at the temperature of the corpse, he must not have gone far. Chis. Jiang Yunza said in a deep voice with a gloomy expression. Xiaoqin headed for the exit of Savage Forest. Along the way he met a few groups of cultivators who were greedy for money. He directly dealt with them. Some of these cultivators recognized Xiaoqin. Some saw that he was alone and purely wanted to rob him. Humans die for wealth, birds die for food, survival of the fittest. Within the Savage Forest, the natural law of the weak being prey to the strong was reflected to the extreme. Even humans could not avoid it. Unfortunately, Xiaoqin now relied on the rushing thunder saber technique and the blue dragon cloud soaring art. Within the martial master realm, he could be said to be unrivaled. Not only did these martial artists who attacked Xiaoqin not obtain any treasures, but they also lost their lives. The city gates of Whitewater City were already in sight. Xiaoqin squinted his eyes and looked into the distance for a while. Then he walked out of Savage Forest without hesitation. The instant Xiaoqin stepped out of Savage Forest, he suddenly felt a killing intent coming from behind him. He quickly dodged to the side. An arrow carried a strong wind as it flew past Xiaoqin. Xiaoqin was astonished in his heart. This arrow was very fast. If not for his purple thunder divine incantation advancing to the third layer, he would not have been able to dodge it. If not for the fact that his purple thunder divine incantation had advanced to the third layer, he would have been struck by the arrow's killing intent. Xiaoqin pushed his feet off the ground and leaped into the air. After he landed, he immediately turned around to look behind him. Behind Xiaoqin, Jiang led a group of Jiang clan cultivators and quickly chased after him. When he saw Xiaoqin's appearance, he was slightly astonished. After not seeing him for 6 days, Xiaoqin's appearance had actually undergone such a huge change. The thing that shocked him the most was that Xiaoqin's cultivation had risen from superior grade martial disciple by 2 grades. He directly became a medial grade martial master in a mere 6 days. Xiaoqin, hand over the map and I can give you a quick death. Otherwise, I will make you wish you were dead, Jiang said sullenly. With his cultivation as a peak martial grand master, although he was astonished at Xiaoqin's cultivation realm, he did not pay much attention to him. Xiaoqin looked at the group of people in front of him and extended his spiritual sense into the surroundings. His thoughts were very fast as he quickly thought of a countermeasure. Should he fight or should he flee? There were 31 people in one move. Aside from Jiang who was a peak martial grand master, the others were only martial masters. However, most of them were superior grade martial masters. Xiaoqin's spiritual sense detected another 200 Jiang clan cultivators rushing over. Among them there were 3 martial grandmasters leading them. If Xiaoqin could quickly end this battle before the 3 martial grandmasters arrived, he would be able to leave safely. This was an opportunity. Xiaoqin made up his mind. He looked at Jiang and smiled faintly. Since I will die whether I hand it over or not, do you think I will hand it over? Jiang smiled coldly. Do you think you have a choice? Those who dare to offend the Jiang clan in Whitewater City will not have a good ending for the past 100 years. He held a steel saber in his hand and led the people behind him towards Xiaoqin. A sinister smile appeared on his face. In his eyes, Xiaoqin no longer had any ability to resist. 10 steps, 9 steps, 8 steps. Xiaoqin's expression did not change. He silently counted the distance between him and these people. When these people were only 5 steps away from Xiaoqin, Xiaoqin suddenly made his move. Lightning evasion. A bolt of lightning flashed and Xiaoqin's figure suddenly disappeared. Under the astonished gazes of the crowd, he appeared in the middle of the Jiang clan cultivators. Flight on wings, disordered dance of 1,000 years. Xiaoqin shouted and leaped into the air. His figure kept changing positions in the air. Saber lights flickered and the crowd cried out miserably. Move back. Jiang roared loudly. Xiaoqin's figure rapidly changed positions in the air. His speed was so fast that no one could catch him. The many Jiang clan cultivators quickly ran outside. However, the saber lights were too fast. Every time the saber light flashed, someone would be struck. Blood and severed limbs fell to the ground. The disordered dance of 1,000 years was a martial technique with a large area of effect. The more people there were, the more they could bring out its might. Saber lights flickered and Xiaoqin instantly sent out more than 1,000 saber strikes. After they landed, there were less than 10 Jiang clan cultivators who were still in one piece. The others were all struck by more than one saber strike. Their corpses had already been chopped into pieces. Thick blood flowed continuously from the corpses on the ground. Severed limbs and internal organs were scattered everywhere. The entire scene was extremely bloody. The remaining 10 people were all somewhat pale. Normally they had killed many people. The number of people they had killed was far more than the number in front of them. However, they had never been so cruel before. If they had not run fast enough, the corpses on the ground would have been them. When they thought of this, the remaining Jiang clan cultivators felt their hearts tighten. They all felt a chill run down their spines. Jiang expression was somewhat unsightly. He looked at the Jiang clan disciples lying on the ground. They were still alive earlier, but in the blink of an eye, they had turned into corpses. He shouted angrily, "This old man will kill you." He held a steel saber in his hand and leaped into the air, chopping down at Xiaoqin's head. A resplendent saber light gathered on the steel saber. Saber light could infuse essence into the saber. It was a technique that only martial grandmasters could grasp. The saber light that Xianxia used as a martial grandmaster was more than 3 meters long. Its aura was very shocking. Xiaoqin did not dare to clash head-on with him. He pushed off the ground and executed the blue dragon cloud soaring art, flying backward. Boom. The saber light struck the ground violently. Dust flew up and a small ravine appeared on the ground. Xianxia quickly withdrew his saber and condensed his aura. A resplendent light appeared on the saber. Kill. Xianxia shouted loudly and chopped down ferociously with his saber. A surging saber chi shot out from the saber towards Xiaoqin, who had yet to land on the ground. Xiaoqin was astonished. This Xianxia could actually send out saber chi. Although he could not circulate it as he wished, he had already touched the threshold of a martial saint. The might of the saber chi had not decreased by much. Furthermore, the angle of this saber chi was extremely crafty. Xiaoqin was unable to borrow any force in the air, making it difficult for him to dodge. Flight on wings, one-line chop. The brilliance on the lunar shadow saber was withdrawn. It looked very ordinary, but it was actually a very skillful move without any fancy moves. However, it contained a huge force. Bang! When the lunar shadow saber chopped down on the surging saber chi, it gave off a loud sound. Xiaoqin was actually not sent flying. Instead, he landed firmly on the ground. Hoo! Suddenly, a whirlwind appeared on the ground. It was unknown what martial technique Xianxia used, but his speed increased significantly. He instantly arrived in front of Xiaoqin like the wind. The steel saber lit up with a resplendent saber light once again as it chased after Xiaoqin, who had yet to stabilize himself. Drawing the saber. There was a flash of saber light and the lunar shadow saber quickly clashed with Xianxia's saber light. This saber strike actually arrived first despite being launched later, striking the steel saber first. Bang! The huge force transmitted from the saber caused Xiaoqin to retreat 5 steps. Xianxia wanted to stabilize himself, but the force transmitted from the steel saber caused him to retreat 2 steps. Is that person Xiaoqin? He actually clashed head-on with Xianxia and did not seem to be at a disadvantage. Earlier he killed over 10 Jiang clan cultivators in one move. It could be a superior grade profound ranked martial technique. This person's background is definitely not small. Looks like the Jiang clan is going to become a joke no matter what. So many people died just to capture a medial grade martial master. I heard that he has the leaked map of the Jiang clan. He defeated the first disciple of the Misty Sword sect, Chu Chaoyun, the Hua noble clan's Hua Yunfei and the Duanmu clan's princess. Looking at the current situation, it might be true. This place was the entrance to Savage Forest. Normally there would be many cultivators coming and going. The battle between the two immediately attracted countless passers-by. They all stopped and commented on it. When the words of the crowd reached Xianxuan's ears, the rage in his heart grew even more vigorous. He took a big step forward and a resplendent saber light condensed on his saber once again. Boom! Xiaoqin, who had clashed with him before, did not hesitate to meet him head-on. It was still drawing the saber chop. It was still drawing the saber but arrived first. Xiaoqin still retreated 5 steps. Xianxia did not want to retreat again in front of everyone. He forcefully suppressed the force transmitted from his saber and continued to rush at Xiaoqin. Xianxia completely suppressed the force of his saber. This was an extremely dangerous thing to do in a fight. If he could not finish off his opponent before the force rebounded, he would immediately receive a backlash. At that time, the suppressed force would be rebounded many times over. Boom, 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 boom. Xianxuan's aura was like a rainbow as he hacked out 5 times. Xiaoqin retreated backward. He had already retreated to the borders of Savage Forest. Xiaoqin's right hand, which was holding the lunar shadow saber, felt numb from the impact. His chest even felt a slight pain. Xiaoqin's gaze was calm. He did not panic at all. He had been enduring, accumulating his strength. He did not believe that Xianxia could continue hacking like this. Now it was time to see who could last until the end. Boom, 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 boom. Xianxia took large strides and roared continuously. A saber light radiated from his saber and he hacked out another 4 times. Xiaoqin was sent flying into Savage Forest. However, the force that he had been suppressing in his body had already reached its limit. Xianxia wanted to stop, but when he saw Xiaoqin's pale complexion and the trace of blood at the corner of his mouth, he decisively gave up on this idea. That brat is only a medial grade martial master. It is impossible for him to withstand my strength. He is sure that I am suppressing this force as well. Now it is time to see who can last until the end. Thus I cannot retreat. Thinking of this, Xianxia shouted loudly. He was prepared to hack out one last time, to completely suppress Xiaoqin to death. Xiaoqin's eyes were as clear as water. He noticed a crack in the saber in Xianxuan's hand from the corner of his eye. Then he looked at Xianxuan's reddened face and knew it was time. Rushing thunder chop. He shouted loudly and the lunar shadow saber suddenly released countless arcs of electricity. The energy of the rank 6 Thunder Rock demonic core was completely released. The energy that he had been suppressing all along was unleashed with the most ferocious attack of the rushing thunder saber technique without holding back. A clap of thunder rang out behind Xiaoqin. He moved gracefully, leaving behind an afterimage in the air. He broke through the air and left behind 2 waves of chi as he clashed with Xianxuan's saber light. Bang! The 2 sabers clashed and something that no one expected happened. The superior grade profound ranked saber in Xianxuan's hand was actually split in half. Side body strike. Taking advantage of the moment Xianxuan was shocked, Xiaoqin leaned to the side and focused all his energy on his shoulder. He ferociously charged forward. His body that had been tempered to a horrifying degree crashed into Xianxuan's chest. Pussy eye. Xianxuan vomited a mouthful of blood on the spot. His body flew high into the air before landing heavily on the ground. The energy that he had been suppressing exploded out. After he landed, he vomited 9 mouthfuls of blood. His complexion was deathly pale, without any trace of blood. He looked at the slowly approaching Xiaoqin and muttered, "How is this possible? How is this possible? He is a medial grade martial master and he actually defeated me in terms of strength." Chapter 105. This Xianxuan is too conceited. He actually suppressed the strength of his saber in battle, thinking that the youth is the same as him. Indeed, his defeat is too unjust. If he was not anxious, after 500 moves he would have a higher chance of winning. That youth's momentum is too horrifying. He is actually so tenacious, accumulating power for one strike, deciding the battle in one move. When the surrounding cultivators saw Xianxuan instantly defeated, they all shook their heads and sighed. They felt that it was not worth it for him, but they were also astonished by Xiaoqin's horrifying momentum. Seeing Xiaoqin getting closer and closer, the shadow of death suddenly appeared in Xianxuan's heart. He quickly ran in the direction of the city gates and shouted to the subordinates beside him, "Cover my back." The remaining 10 people were the death-sworn of the Jiang clan. Although they felt disdain for Xianxuan's actions, they did not hesitate and stayed behind. This was because their families were all in the Jiang clan. If they did not listen to orders, even if they managed to escape, not only would they be punished, they would also implicate their families. On the other hand, if they died in battle, their families would receive a large amount of compensation. They had no other choice. Xiaoqin's expression was calm as he continued walking, as though there were no obstructions in front of him. Under the astonished gazes of the surrounding people, Xiaoqin directly rushed past them. Xiaoqin did not make any movements, but the 10 Jiang clan cultivators were suddenly engulfed in a purple flame. They were instantly burned to ashes. Xianxuan turned his head to look at the commotion behind him. He was immediately scared out of his wits. He increased his speed and rushed towards the city gates. From the pile of ashes, a longbow with a cold glint and a pile of arrows fell down. This was the spirit bow that Xianxuan had used to pierce through Xiaoqin. Xiaoqin picked up the bow and knocked an arrow. He circulated his essence to his right hand and tried to draw the bowstring. However, he discovered that the bowstring did not move at all. This bow is actually able to repel essence, Xiaoqin thought to himself. After that, he dispersed his essence and used the strength of his physical body to draw the bow into the shape of a full moon. Xiaoqin placed a marker on Xianxuan's chest with his spiritual sense. He could clearly sense Xianxuan's position. No matter how much he jumped, he was unable to shake off Xiaoqin. The arrow buzzed in the air and streaked across the sky like a bolt of lightning, chasing after the stars and the moon. The arrow that was still on the bowstring a moment ago had pierced through Xianxuan's chest in the next second. The arrow's power did not decrease, and it actually carried Xianxuan up towards the city gate. Bang! The arrow fiercely pierced into the city wall, hanging Xianxuan on it. The first elder of the Jiang clan, the #1 faction of Whitewater City, was actually pinned to the wall of Whitewater City by a youth. The surroundings were deathly silent. Everyone's jaws dropped in disbelief. That youngster actually pulled the soul demise bow into the shape of a full moon. Unbelievable. That's right. The Jiang clan spent a large amount of spirit stones to purchase it from the Heavenly Craft Villa. One can't use origin power to draw the bow and can only rely on the strength of the physical body. In the Jiang clan, only Jiangyunza can slightly draw it. Even so, who knows how many people have died to this bow. Haha, Jiangyunza probably never imagined that he would actually die because of this bow. He used this bow to kill who knows how many people who went against the Jiang clan. Today he was pinned to death on the city wall. This can be considered karma. He should be in a bad mood. After a while, those cultivators recovered their wits. When they saw Jiangyunza pinned to death on the city wall, his face was filled with dissatisfaction. They all rejoiced in his misfortune. It was clear that these cultivators had been bullied by the Jiang clan. Xiaoqin looked at the soul demise bow in his hand. He was somewhat surprised. He did not expect this ordinary-looking bow to have such a background. After placing the soul demise bow into the universe ring, Xiaoqin raised his head and looked at Jiangyunza pinned to the city wall. He did not hesitate and directly entered Whitewater City. After a while, 3 Jiang clan martial grandmasters led 200 martial masters out of Savage Forest in a grandiose manner. When they saw Jiangyunza pinned to the top of the city wall, they turned pale with fright. Their faces were filled with horror. That night there were no clouds and no stars. There was only a crescent moon hanging high in the sky. The gentle moonlight shone on the ground. Within the Jiang clan of Whitewater City, all the elders were invited to the Great Hall. Jiang Mingxuan sat expressionlessly in the middle of the Great Hall. Beside him sat 6 consecrated members of the Jiang clan. They were all martial saints. Behind them stood dozens of martial grand masters. The Great Hall seemed somewhat crowded. This was the true elite force of the Jiang clan. This was the Jiang clan's 100 years of accumulation in Whitewater City. It was also the reason why they could do as they pleased in Whitewater City. At this moment, this group of people, who were normally very respectable and had great authority in Whitewater City, all had grave expressions on their faces. The atmosphere in the Great Hall was very quiet. Jiang Mingxuan slowly opened his mouth and said, "I'm sure everyone knows about what happened during the day. The first elder, Jiangyunza, was actually pinned to death on the city wall." A martial saint consecrated member to his right said, "Brother Jiang, there is no need to pay too much attention to this. He is just a medial grade martial master. I can squash him to death with one hand. I feel that we should put this matter aside for now. We should focus on the remnants of the ancient humans. That is the foundation of the Jiang clan's development and strength." Just as he finished speaking, a middle-aged man behind him spoke up. His expression was extremely agitated as he said, "Elder Bai, what do you mean by this? My elder brother was pinned to death on the city gate. Could it be that he died for nothing?" The consecrated member with the surname Bai frowned and said unhappily, "Who do you think you are? How dare you speak to me like this? Did I say that I would not interfere? This old man is willing to personally take revenge for your elder brother. However, there is a difference in priority." The clan head did not even say anything. "What are you going to say?" The middle-aged man's face turned red. With his status, he could not speak to the consecrated elder like this. However, his elder brother had died just like that. He felt that it was not worth it. Jiang Mingxuan said, "Yunfeng, you don't have to worry too much. In all these years, have you seen anyone who offended the Jiang clan have a good ending? This time, I have gathered everyone here not because I want everyone to focus on this matter. My opinion is similar to Elder Bai's. There is a difference in priority. There is no need to pay too much attention to a medial grade martial master. The only thing I am worried about now is that this person will leak the map. Hence, I have gathered everyone here to prepare to enter the remnants in advance." Jiang Mingxuan said unhurriedly. After he finished speaking, the expressions of everyone in the hall changed. "They can enter the remnants of the ancient humans?" Boom, boom. Just as everyone was pondering over Jiang Mingxuan's words, there were suddenly miserable cries coming from outside the hall. Bang, bang. The bodies of a few Jiang clan disciples were thrown in from outside. The bodies of the Jiang clan disciples that were thrown in carried a huge force. The few martial grand masters in the periphery could not withstand it and were sent flying. A path instantly opened up in the somewhat crowded hall. Jiang Mingxuan and a few consecrators made a move together and caught the Jiang clan disciples that were thrown in. After a few people caught them, a surging shockwave came from their bodies and spread into the surroundings. The sandalwood tables and chairs were all sent flying. The teacups and porcelain bottles on the tables fell to the ground, clanging non-stop. It was clear that the strength of the person who made a move was unfathomable. Jiang Mingxuan casually put down the people in his hands and looked at Hua Yunfei and Duanyuking standing outside the hall. There was also a group of servants of unknown strength behind them. He said in a deep voice, The two of you, what is the meaning of this? You injured my Jiang clan disciples for no reason. Then he looked at the lonely Chu Chaoyin not far away. He said in a pleading tone, Nephew Chaoyin, your father and I can be considered good friends. Are you going to stand against us? Chu Chaoyin smiled faintly as he carried his sword on his back. He said in a carefree manner, Uncle Jiang, my father already told me before I came. Don't worry, I did not injure any of the Jiang clan's people. Hua Yunfei smiled coldly at the side. Jiang Mingxuan, stop asking. I was the one who injured your people. I only have one question for you. How long are you going to delay us? Don't treat us like monkeys. Hua Yunfei's attitude was extremely arrogant. He did not care about Jiang Mingxuan at all. In front of everyone he called out Jiang Mingxuan's name without showing any respect for a junior. Jiang Mingxuan's heart burned with rage, but he did not dare to show it on his face. After all, his Jiang clan was just a local noble clan. Compared to the Hua clan, which had been passed down for 1,000 years and had an innate bloodline, the Jiang clan was not worth mentioning. Furthermore, the older generations of the Hua clan behind Hua Yunfei did not say anything. Clearly, they tacitly approved of Hua Yunfei's current attitude. With their support, Jiang Mingxuan could not do anything to Hua Yunfei. Jiang Mingxuan muttered, This old man has already promised you. Once I confirm the location of the remnant, I will immediately head there with everyone. Right now the location is not confirmed. How am I supposed to bring you there? Hua Yunfei revealed a sinister smile. He snorted coldly and said, Do you really think I am a fool? Did you not hear what you said earlier? Don't think that you can shake us off just because you have the Ji clan's support. He paused for a moment and his voice suddenly became heavier. He pointed at Jiang Mingxuan and said word by word, Let me tell you, this is Dongming province, not Nanling province. Even if the Ji clan really came, it would not be their turn to speak. After being lectured by Hua Yunfei, Jiang Mingxuan's face turned ashen. The rage in his heart continued to rise. He clenched his fists and banged them together. He felt incredibly sullen. What arrogant words! Suddenly, a faintly discernible voice came from the great hall. As it reverberated in the surroundings, no one could tell where the voice came from. A black silhouette flashed in from outside and appeared in front of Hua Yunfei. The black silhouette fiercely struck at him with his palm. The entire movement was done in one breath, and the speed was as fast as lightning. Many people in the hall did not see clearly how the black silhouette entered the Jiang clan. Bang! Hua Yunfei quickly made his move and clashed with the black figure's palm. The wind from his palm was like thunder. There was a loud bang. When the two palms clashed, the black figure immediately exploded. That is the Ji clan's secret technique, the external incarnation. Young Master Ji is here. When the Jiang clan members saw this, they immediately exclaimed in pleasant surprise. Jiang Mingxuan's expression also relaxed significantly. Hua Yunfei, who was closest to the explosion, was immediately forced back by the shockwave created by the explosion. A strange force also flowed into his body through his palm. It circulated through his meridians as if it was crushing dry weeds. Hua Yunfei's expression sank and he quickly activated the power of his martial spirit. The blood river instantly flowed into his body. After a long time he was able to resolve this strange energy. The Hua clan's mutated martial spirit is only SOSO. No wonder he was severely injured by a superior grade martial disciple not long ago. A man dressed in black slowly walked in from outside the great hall. His long hair fluttered in the wind, his grace was outstanding, and his eyes were as resplendent as the stars. Although he was dressed in black, he gave off a strange glow in the dark night. When he walked into the great hall, the entire great hall seemed to brighten up. He automatically became the focus of everyone. It was as though the world was born because of him, as though he was the main character. A slight ripple appeared on Chu Chaoyin's calm face. He thought to himself, Ji Changkong, is this him? There were many rumors about the Nanling Ji clan's Ji Changkong. It was said that at the age of 7 he practiced the Ji clan's secret technique, the external incarnation, to the medial perfection realm. At the age of 10 he practiced the Ji clan's other secret technique, the astral swordplay, to the medial perfection realm. After that, he had never met a worthy opponent in the younger generation. He was fully deserving of the title of the strongest of the younger generation in the southern region. At the age of 16, he had already reached the realm of superior grade martial grand master. The proud and arrogant Ji Changkong immediately prepared to go to the imperial capital to challenge the legendary reincarnated Princess Yingyu. He defeated all the young experts in the imperial capital and finally challenged Princess Yingyu. Chapter 106. Outsiders did not know the result of this battle. They only knew that after the battle, Ji Changkong immediately left the imperial capital. From then on he kept a low profile. Half a year later, his cultivation increased once again, reaching the peak of martial Grand Master. He was only a step away from entering the martial saint realm, becoming the youngest martial saint in the Great Qin nation in 1,000 years. Ji Changkong walked in front of Jiang Mingxuan and bowed. He said respectfully, "Uncle, your nephew is late, sorry for startling you." When everyone heard Ji Changkong's words, they were astonished. They did not expect Jiang Mingxuan to be Ji Changkong's uncle. According to rumors, Ji Changkong's mother was a concubine from a local clan. Because Ji Changkong's mother was often neglected, he cultivated with all his might. He was fighting for his pride. They did not expect his mother to be Jiang Mingxuan's younger sister. Jiang Mingxuan smiled faintly, "Changkong, there is no need to be so polite. It's good that you are here. Your uncle no longer needs to be pointed at and lectured by others." The people of Dongming Province's three powers finally understood why Jiang Mingxuan dared to be so fearless, delaying them. It turned out that he had such a deep relationship with the Ji clan. Hua Yunfei's expression changed, but he did not show it. The moment he made his move, he had suffered a small loss at Ji Changkong's hands. It was clear that he was afraid of Ji Changkong. He glanced at Duanyuking and Chu Chaoyun before saying, "Ji Changkong, I don't think there is anything wrong with what I said. The matters of our Dongming province are not for you Nanling province's people to interfere. Don't you think you are stretching your hands too far?" Ji Changkong smiled faintly. "Since when did the vast Dongming province become something that you Hua Yunfei can represent? Have you asked Brother Chu and Miss Duanmo? Furthermore, I Ji Changkong cannot represent Nanling province. Don't accuse me of anything, I am only here to pay a visit to my relatives." The two of them confronted each other, neither willing to back down. The people that both sides brought all released their auras. The atmosphere was extremely tense, as though a huge battle was about to break out in the next moment. See, at this moment, the sound of string music could be heard in the distant sky. It was light and moving, and the bright moon hung high in the sky. It was like celestial music. Everyone hurriedly looked up. A huge golden warship slowly flew over from the horizon. There was a flag flying at the bow of the ship with a large return character written on it. A man wearing a purple robe stood proudly under the flag. The Guy Marquis' king-grade secret treasure, the golden warship. The people from the Guy Marquis' residence are here as well, someone below said in astonishment when he saw the words on the banner. Jiang Mingxuan looked at the golden warship above his head and felt a chill run down his spine. He didn't expect that someone from the king's mansion would come. For the first time he felt that things were out of his control. The waning moon hung high in the sky. There were no stars twinkling in the night sky. The night was darker than usual. However, the streets of Whitewater City were packed with people. In the sky, the huge body of the golden warship moved slowly in the air, emitting a dazzling radiance. Even though it hung high in the sky, the people on the ground could still feel its boundless imperial might. The Guy Marquis Ingshao actually came as well. This remnant of the ancient human race is too attractive. Unfortunately, low-ranked cultivators like us cannot go and take a look even if we wanted to. Why not? Aren't there people selling the Jiang clan's leaked map of the remnant? I bought one but I have not researched it yet. When I research it I will definitely go and take a look. Idiot, that map is fake. You will know when you go back. If I find out who did it, I will hammer him to death. Someone at the side sneered and said, "Save it." The Jiang family's clan head bought 10 of those blueprints and even spent 10,000 gold taels. He's the real idiot. We were only cheated of 1,000 silver taels. It's really nothing. Is that true? This person actually dared to cheat the Jiang clan. Why didn't I think of that? 10,000 gold taels is equivalent to 10 years of my income. Even if you had the guts, would you dare to go? Hence, if that person did not have a huge backer, he would not even dare to fool the Jiang clan. We were fooled. All we have to do is endure it. If he really wanted to settle the score, who knows who would be the one hammering to death. After everyone chatted for a while, the topic shifted to the Guy Marquis' golden warship in the sky. Everyone was shocked when they saw the majestic warship. Among the crowd, Xiao Qin raised his head and looked at the golden warship in the sky. He was deep in thought. This golden warship was a very high-ranked secret treasure. It came from the ancient era. Most of the secret treasures in the world were passed down from the ancient era. After the ancient era ended, the blacksmiths who created secret treasures fell into decline. After the Qinwu dynasty was destroyed, the inheritance of the blacksmiths in the continent completely disappeared. To this day, no one in the continent could refine secret treasures. If one wanted to obtain secret treasures, they could only obtain them from the ancient remnant or the remnant of the Tianwu dynasty. From this, it could be seen how precious secret treasures were. However, Xiaoqin felt that this legendary secret treasure was very similar to the magic treasures recorded in the Compendium of Cultivation. There were once people who mistook his life bestowal spell for a secret treasure. Unfortunately, he had yet to obtain a true secret treasure, so he could not confirm his conjecture. Recollecting his thoughts, Xiaoqin headed for Liuxiang Pavilion. Along the way, he had already heard that Liuxiang Pavilion had not moved. Xiaoqin went straight to the second floor and discovered that Liuxiang Pavilion's business was still very good. Even though it was already night time, there were still no empty tables. Furthermore, there were many people waiting. All the cultivators on the second floor were discussing the ancient remnant, the golden warship in the sky, and the recent idiot incident. The Gi Marquis' golden warship is here. I wonder if the Ji clan's Black Monarch warship or the Duanmu clan's Profound Ice Palace will come. If they are all here, it will be very lively. They are all king-grade secret treasures. If they were to fight, even martial saints would not be able to withstand the shockwaves of the battle. Xiaoqin leaped over the second floor and headed for the third floor. One needed a Liuxiang Pavilion VIP card to enter the third floor. There were still many empty tables on the third floor. The last time he made a transaction with Fatso, Kim Taeho had given him a VIP card. After flashing the VIP card, he was able to enter without any obstructions. Of the people seated on the third floor, the weakest was a superior grade martial master. Most of them were martial grand masters. It was obvious that their statuses were higher than the cultivators on the second floor. They were the leaders of some cultivator groups. The topics of discussion were completely different from the second floor. They were all trading spirit beast inner cores, furs, and medicinal herbs. Occasionally, there would be people going to the counter to get someone to appraise the goods. Xiaoqin seemed to understand why Liuxiang Pavilion's business was so good. Aside from eating and gossiping, this place was also a perfect place to do business. Bang, bang, bang. Not long after Xiaoqin sat down, Jean Fatso's unique footsteps could be heard rumbling over. His smile was like a flower as he sat opposite Xiaoqin. After not seeing you for half a month, Brother Xiao, you have become famous. Now there is almost no one in Whitewater City who does not know your name. I really did not expect this. Fatso immediately sighed after he sat down. Xiaoqin smiled faintly and did not say anything. He took out the herbs and spirit cores of the spirit beasts that he had obtained from the people chasing him from the universe ring and took them out in stacks. At first, Fatso did not pay much attention to it. However, when the medicinal herbs and spirit cores filled the entire table, an astonished expression appeared on his face. He said, "Damn it, did you dig up all the land in Savage Forest? There are so many spirit cores and medicinal herbs." "I only killed a few hundred people," Xiaoqin said indifferently. A horrifying killing intent spread out in all directions. Xiaoqin's words were directed at the surrounding people. When the pile of spirit cores and medicinal herbs was placed on the table, Xiaoqin immediately felt countless gazes directed at him. Aside from greed, there was no hidden killing intent in their gazes. Xiaoqin's killing intent instantly spread out. Everyone in the entire floor felt a faint pressure. That was a pure killing intent. Only after killing countless people could one condense such a killing intent. Exactly how many people did this brat kill to be able to condense such a horrifying killing intent? The crowd of cultivators quickly withdrew their gazes and clicked their tongues in their hearts. Jean Fatso laughed loudly and said, "You want to sell these to this fat lord, right? No problem, this fat lord will take them all. You, come and inspect the goods." Fatso called out and two people immediately came to the counter. They bowed to Fatso and checked the goods on the table. After that, they wrote out a receipt and handed it to Xiaoqin. Then they took the goods and left. Jean Fatso smiled and said, "I will be able to clear it in half an hour. There is no need to worry about being cheated. When this fat lord does business, it is a win-win situation. I will not cheat anyone or anyone." Xiaoqin took a sip of tea and asked, "Do you have a secluded place here? Let's talk business." Jean Fatso looked around and guessed what Xiaoqin wanted to talk about. He said, "Follow me." The two of them entered a secluded room. After Jean Fatso sat down, he said, "There will be no third person who knows what we are talking about here." Xiaoqin checked with his spiritual sense. Indeed, it was as he expected. There was no one else around. He took out the map of the ancient remnant from the universe ring and said, "I want you to help me find the location of the ancient remnant on this map within 3 days." Fatso looked at the map and laughed loudly. Brother Xiao, to be honest, I have a map in my hands as well. I'm not sure if it is real or not. Take a look. Xiaoqin only took a glance and he could tell what was going on. He could not help but smile. I guess that you were the one who made this. I really don't understand. Why would people buy something with the word, stupid cunt, written on it? Jean Fatso chuckled and said proudly, who knows? Let's not talk about this. I want to buy your map as well. Name a price. Xiaoqin was somewhat astonished as he said, why do you want to buy this? You want to go to the ancient remnant as well? Since I want to buy it, I will definitely be able to sell it. Are you selling it or not? Fatso said confidently. Xiaoqin thought for a while and roughly guessed what Fatso wanted to do. He said, sure, but you have to help me find the location of the ancient remnant first. Fatso patted his chest and said, that's a small matter. Leave it to me. Knock. Knock. There was a series of knocks on the door. After that, an old man walked in. He took out a stack of banknotes and said, young Master Xiao, your goods have been appraised. They are worth a total of 5,000 gold taels. Fatso received the banknotes and handed them to Xiaoqin. Then he handed the map to the old man and said, find the place on the map tomorrow morning. The old man received the map and left without saying anything. When Fatso saw that Xiaoqin was a little worried, he explained, there is no need to worry. You have to believe in my ability. There will be results tomorrow morning. Come, I will bring you to meet someone. That person is very interested in you. Chapter 107. Someone is interested in me? Xiaoqin had some suspicions in his heart. He did not seem to be familiar with anyone in Whitewater City. Who could be interested in him? Xiaoqin followed Fatso to the 5th floor. According to rumors, only people of the city lord's rank could enter the 5th floor of Liushang Pavilion. The decorations of the 5th floor were worlds apart from the 4th floor. It was extremely luxurious. The interior was filled with gold, jadeite, and white jade decorations. A soft conversation came from one of the cubicles. Fatso's eyes were very sharp. He peered through the gap in the screen and saw the two people in the cubicle. He revealed a strange expression as he muttered, when did Yan Qianyun arrive? How come I did not know? He actually came to the 5th floor. Are all the guards dead? Why did no one inform me? Yan Qianyun, the heir of the Shiha province's bloodline Yan clan. This Whitewater City is getting more and more lively, Xiaoqin thought to himself. Just as Fatso was about to walk over, Yan Qianyun, who was behind the screen, suddenly walked out. When he saw Kim Taeho appear, he was not surprised. However, when he saw Xiaoqin, he was somewhat surprised. However, a faint killing intent appeared in his eyes. He slowly walked over to Xiaoqin and said, I recognize you, Xiaoqin. The ancient remnant map is in your hands, right? Hand it over. Yan Qianyun spoke boldly and confidently. He did not feel that there was anything wrong with it. In his eyes, Xiaoqin was just a medial grade martial master without any status. There was no need to be so polite to him. Xiaoqin frowned slightly and smiled coldly in his heart. Are the disciples of these noble clans always so arrogant and shameless? Drawing the saber. Chop. The lunar shadow saber suddenly appeared in Xiaoqin's hand. It released a resplendent electric light as it chopped at Yan Qianyun. What a fast saber. Yan Qianyun was astonished. He did not expect Xiaoqin to be so decisive, attacking as soon as he said he would. Furthermore, he did not expect a medial grade martial master like him to brandish his saber so quickly. Puchi. Xiaoqin had practiced this drawing the saber countless times. He was only a step away from great perfection. Furthermore, he executed it at such a close distance. Almost no one could dodge it. When Xiaoqin drew his saber, Yan Qianyun had already retreated quickly. However, his chest was still cut by the saber light, giving off the sound of metal clashing. Xiaoqin's clothes were torn apart, revealing the golden battle armor underneath. Xiaoqin was slightly surprised. It was actually an earth-ranked battle armor. The great aristocratic families truly had deep foundations. The saber did not break the battle armor. However, the saber carried a huge force. When it struck Yan Qianyun, his internal organs instantly trembled. Arclight slash. A sword appeared in Yan Qianyun's hand. He wanted to counterattack. However, he discovered that this arclight chop seemed to be formed naturally. There were no openings at all. It sealed off all of his routes of attack. Retreat. Yan Qianyun gently pushed off the ground and calmed the unstable essence in his body. His figure flew backward. When he landed, he had not stabilized his footing. However, he discovered that Xiaoqin had already soared into the sky. He held the lunar shadow saber in his hand and rushed at him without any fancy moves. His speed was as fast as rushing thunder, as fast as lightning. Xianxia quickly thought of a countermeasure. In the end, he discovered that aside from rolling backward, he did not have any other moves to block. He had not stabilized his footing. He had no way to block this move. If he were to jump backward, as long as he was a little bit higher, his head would be pierced. He made up his mind and immediately rolled backward. Rushing thunder chop. Suddenly, thunder roared in the 5th floor of Liushang Pavilion. Under the trembling of the thunder, all the screens and chairs were instantly sent flying. Xiaoqin carried the boundless might of rushing thunder as it surged over. It was as fast as lightning, chopping down at Xianxia head. Under the vast might, Xianxia felt a chill in his heart. The essence in his body circulated quickly. He used both his hands to hold the sword above his head, trying to block this saber. Boom! When the saber and sword clashed, there was a loud sound. Xianxia felt his arm tremble. A huge force transmitted from the sword to his feet. With a bang, a hole immediately appeared in the wooden plank below his feet. Half of Xianxia's body was immediately stuck in the wooden plank. He could not advance or retreat. Xiaoqin landed on the ground and kicked out, pulling Xianxia out. Rushing thunder second chain chop. The energy accumulated in the 5 saber strikes surged out in the rushing thunder second chain chop. The saber struck Xianxia's battle armor, but it still did not penetrate it. Wuxia. However, the huge force penetrated the battle armor and entered Xianxia's body. He vomited a mouthful of blood in midair and crashed violently into the wooden wall. A large hole immediately appeared in the wooden wall of Liushang Pavilion. Xianxia fell in just like that. At the critical moment, he stretched out his right hand and grabbed the wooden plank. His body was suspended in midair. Dang! Just as Xiaoqin was about to follow up with a kick, a sound wave flew towards him. He quickly took 2 steps back and with a bang, the wooden table beside him was immediately split in half by the sound wave. Su Xiaoxiao walked out from the compartment and advised gently, "Young Master Xiao, how about showing mercy?" Xiaoqin turned around and looked at this girl. He praised her in his heart. Be it appearance or temperament, out of all the girls he knew, only Yu Ying could compare to her. However, I don't think I know you. Do we know each other? Xiaoqin looked at Su Xiaoxiao and asked seriously. When Su Xiaoxiao heard this, she was stunned. She did not know how to reply. Fatso quickly replied from the side, "This is Miss Xiaoxiao. I brought you here to introduce you to her. The #1 beauty of the South, Su Xiaoxiao." Xiaoqian's heart skipped a beat. He did not expect her to be the one rumored to be the only girl comparable to Yu Ying in the Great Qin nation. After seeing her today, the rumors were indeed true. However, this girl's origins were very mysterious. Because she played the zither very well, she often appeared in various places and had dealings with the noble clan's young masters in the Great Qin nation. However, there had never been any rumors of her having an affair with any noble clan's heir. Furthermore, she did not belong to any power. There was once a marquis who wanted to forcefully abduct her after seeing her beauty. In the end, before the people he sent out could do anything, the marquis died in his own residence. Furthermore, the royal clan did not pursue this matter. Bang! Xianxia shouted lightly and stood back on the floor. His face was extremely pale, and there was a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth that had not been wiped clean. His clothes were tattered and he was in a sorry state. Ever since he made his debut, he had never been in such a sorry state. Just because he underestimated his opponent, he nearly became the joke of Liushang Pavilion. "Young Master Yan, on account of Xiaoxiao, can you stop here today? I still have some things to discuss with young Master Xiao," Su Xiaoxiao said softly as she looked at Xianxia. When Xianxia heard this, he quickly thought about it in his mind. "I was careless earlier and I suffered significant injuries. This Xiaoqin obviously still has some tricks up his sleeves. It would not be appropriate to continue fighting with him. I might as well return first and take care of this brat after I recover." Xianxia snorted coldly and said seriously, "On account of Miss Xiaoxiao, I will let you live for a few more days. After a few days I will come and take your head." Fatso sighed in his heart, this pretentious act. Even this fat lord has to admit that I am not as good as him. He was clearly beaten up like a dog, but in the end he has to act like he was beating up a dog. He does not want to lose face in front of Xiaoxiao. Xiaoqin smiled coldly, "Did I say I would let you off?" Lightning evasion. Side strike. A bolt of lightning flashed by, and Xiaoqin suddenly appeared in front of Xianxia. He leaned forward and gathered all his energy on his right shoulder. Then he smashed into Xianxia's chest. Xianxia, who was preparing to leave, looked at Xiaoqin in astonishment. Even if he was beaten to death, he would not have imagined that Xiaoqin would actually continue to attack him in front of Su Xiaoxiao. Bang! The horrifying physical body combined with the essence in his body caused Yan Qianyun to vomit a mouthful of blood. His body flew backward and fell through the hole in the wooden wall. This time, Yan Qianyun did not have the opportunity to grab anything. With a loud bang, he fell violently from the 100-meter-tall Liuxiang Pavilion. Because of the Guy Marquis' arrival, Whitewater City was especially lively tonight. The crowd on the streets had not dispersed. A figure suddenly fell from Liuxiang Pavilion, giving off a loud bang, startling everyone. They only saw a person with disheveled hair lying on the ground. He coughed out blood continuously, and his face was pale without any color. That person slowly sat up and tried to stand up. However, the moment he stood up, he fell back down with a loud bang. The bones in his legs seemed to be broken. There was no way for him to stand up. Yan Qianyun's eyes were bloodshot as he lay on the ground, crawling out step by step. He had come to Liuxiang Pavilion alone. Because he wanted to see Su Xiaoxiao, he left his guards and servants outside the city. At this moment, he only had one thought in his mind: to get out quickly and find his guards to tear Xiaoqian into pieces. Isn't that the Shihe province's Yan Qianyun? Why is he here in Whitewater City? He was actually thrown out of Liuxiang Pavilion. Who is so bold? Someone in the crowd recognized Yan Qianyun's appearance and said in astonishment. The Yan clan was one of the few noble clans in the Shihe province. He had an innate bloodline and inherited martial spirit. How could someone beat him up like this? A sharp-eyed person looked up and saw Xiaoqin standing at the entrance of the cave. He was startled. It's Xiaoqin. Xiaoqin actually threw Yan Qianyun out of Liuxiang Pavilion. This fellow is too ferocious. In the day, he pinned the Jiang clan's first elder to the city wall. In the night, he tossed the Yan clan's heir off the 5th floor of Liuxiang Pavilion. Regardless of whether it is the rich clans or the noble clans, he does not care about them at all. When he wants to make a move, he does it. This person is too heaven-defying. The words of the crowd entered Yan Qianyun's ears, causing the rage in his heart to burn even stronger. He hated that he could not immediately kill Xiaoqin with a saber strike. His eyes were bloodshot, filled with a hateful glint. A few people saw how pitiful Yan Qianyun was crawling, so they wanted to go over and help him up. Scram, you bunch of Dongming province's lowly commoners. I do not need you to help me. I like to crawl. Scram for me. Yan Qianyun had nowhere to vent his anger. When he saw people coming over, he immediately cursed. When those people saw that they had been given the cold shoulder, they cursed and immediately ran far away like they were avoiding a fly. They had never seen such a vicious person before. Chapter 108. Ah, you are really degrading yourselves. He is the son of a noble clan, with an innate bloodline and an inherited martial spirit. Is he someone you can help? He likes to crawl. Did you hear that? Crawl like a dog. However, the way young Master Yan crawls is rather handsome. With 4 hooves on the ground, he is still unyielding. The son of a noble clan is indeed the son of a noble clan. He is indeed different. When the people in the crowd saw Yan Qianyun scolding him, implicating the people of Dongming province, they were not happy and mocked him. You can scold him all you want. As long as I crawl out you, boom. Before Yan Qianyun could finish speaking, a bolt of lightning suddenly came down from the sky and struck his back violently. He immediately fell flat on his face. Boom, boom. Another 2 bolts of lightning struck Yan Qianyun's body. His entire body was charred black and he fainted. Up in Liuxiang Pavilion, Xiaoqin consecutively sent out 3 lightning descend spells before he felt slightly better. Xiaoqin never liked to reason with such arrogant and condescending people of noble clans. When a dog bites you, you cannot be like a dog and bite back the way it did. You can just beat it to death. When Su Xiaoxiao saw that Xiaoqin did not care about her words at all and continued to beat Yan Qianyun down, her pretty face changed. She said, Xiaoqin, how can you be so despicable? He already said to stop. Xiaoqin turned around and looked at Su Xiaoxiao. He smiled faintly. I don't know if you are deaf or pretending not to hear, or if your intelligence is too low to understand the meaning of human language. He already said that he would spare my worthless life, but he would still kill me in a few days. Since that is the case, why should I talk about benevolence and morality with him? I'm not a fool. Su Xiaoxiao was so angry that her face turned pale. She could not say a single word. Xiaoqin turned around and said to Kim Taeho, Brother Debao, don't introduce me to just anyone in the future. I'm afraid it will lower my intelligence. I'll take my leave first. After Xiaoqin spoke, he immediately flew down from the 5th floor. He leaped a few times in the air and circulated the blue dragon cloud soaring art, disappearing into the night. So cool. He has 1/10 of my demeanor in the past. Kim Taeho sighed as he watched Xiao Chen's departing figure. Su Xiaoxiao's complexion paled. No one had ever been so rude to her before. She had been to every corner of the great Qin nation. Those scions and nobles, which one of them didn't line up to see her? As she watched Xiao Chen leave, she stomped her foot angrily, hugged her zither and walked downstairs. After Su Xiaoxiao left, Kim Taeho came to his senses and looked at the many broken decorations on the 5th floor, as well as the big holes on the floor and the wooden wall. Immediately he cursed, "Damn it, how much money will I have to spend to repair it?" Kim Taeho stood in front of the hole and looked down. He discovered the unconscious Yan Qianyun lying on the ground. He rolled his eyes and immediately thought of an idea. He quickly called the manservant on the 5th floor over. "Yan Qianyun, that bastard, has he paid the bill?" "I don't think so. I saw that Miss Xiaoxiao did not leave, so I thought Miss Xiaoxiao would pay the bill." "Miss Xiaoxiao left just now. It seems like she forgot to pay the bill," the manservant said awkwardly. Kim Taeho said angrily, "He can't even bear to pay for a girl. This Yan Qianyun is too much of a bastard. Get a few people to go down and see if there's anything valuable on him. Pluck it all out." When the manservant heard this, he said excitedly, "Should I leave a pair of underwear for him?" Fatso thought for a while and said, "If it's not valuable, then forget it. If it's valuable, then pluck it out as well. The money for the renovation of the 5th floor will all go to him." Below Liushang Pavilion, the crowd looked at the unconscious Yan Qianyun. They all felt vindicated in their hearts. Such an arrogant person deserves to be struck by lightning. Make way, make way. Liushang Pavilion is here to collect debts. Please make way. 3 manservants of Liushang Pavilion parted the crowd and arrived before Yan Qianyun. Under the astonished gazes of the crowd, they took off Yan Qianyun's outer clothes. Soaring Phoenix Satin Shop, this is a luxurious set of clothes produced. However, it is already tattered. It is not worth much. Throw it away. One of the manservants looked at Yan Qianyun's tattered clothes and casually tossed it to the side. A gold-threaded belt. This is not bad. It should be worth some money. These shoes seem to be made from the soft skin of a spirit beast. They should be able to sell for a good price. Hey, there are actually some gold notes hidden inside. What brand is this pants? Help me take a look. Damn, superior grade earth-ranked battle armor. I'm going to strike it rich. I wonder how much it is worth. In the blink of an eye, Yan Qianyun was stripped until he was only left with his underwear. The surrounding cultivators were all dumbfounded. They were speechless in their hearts. In the future, no one would dare to dine and dash at Liushang Pavilion. Even Yan Qianyun was stripped until he was only left with his underwear. Among them, no one dared to say that their backing was stronger than Yan Qianyun's. Just thinking about the consequences caused them to tremble in fear. Hey, this underwear seems to have gold lining. Should we take it off? A manservant said hesitantly. I'm sweating. The surrounding cultivators were initially venting their anger. Now they felt pity for Yan Qianyun. This fellow is too tragic. The first time he came to Dongming province, he was thrown out of Liushang Pavilion and beaten up like a dog. Now he was even more pitiful. The people of Liushang Pavilion even wanted to take off his underwear. Let's take it off. The young master said to take off all the valuable things. If he wants to blame someone, he can only blame his perverted taste. Of all the things he could have done, he chose to have gold lining. After the manservant said that, he immediately untied Yan Qianyun's belt. Damn, he is too strong. He actually took it off. Damn it. In the future, I will go and offend the Jiang clan. I would not dare to offend Liushang Pavilion anymore. This is too damn horrifying, someone in the crowd exclaimed. After the manservant pulled off the underwear, a manservant looked at Yan Qianyun's lower body. He said in astonishment, Hey, this hair seems to be gold as well. Should I take it off? Just as the manservant finished speaking, all the surrounding cultivators in the crowd broke out in a cold sweat. After that, they felt a cold wind blow at their crotch like something had broken. Who? All the warriors who were still watching immediately circulated their essence chi to the extreme a second later. They instantly vanished without a trace. There was not a single person left on the street that was previously filled with people. Damn it, I was too excited. My eyes went blurry. After a while, the manservant said in self-reproach. Early the next morning, the sun shone brightly. Under the bright sun, there were many people coming and going in front of Liushang Pavilion. Xiao Chen wore a black cloak and slowly walked in. The first floor was filled with people. Xiao Chen found it difficult to even take a step. What's going on? Liushang Pavilion's business seems to be ridiculously good today, Xiaoqin asked as he pulled back a cultivator who was running out. That cultivator was pulled back by Xiaoqin and revealed an unhappy expression. Just as he was about to flare up, he suddenly felt an indistinct killing intent from Xiaoqin's body. Xiaoqin's expression instantly eased up. He pointed to a wooden wall and smiled. "Go and take a look. There is a notice on the wall. You will understand when you see it." There were too many people. Xiaoqin had no choice but to circulate his essence before he squeezed through. After he saw the contents of the notice, he could not help but laugh involuntarily. Notice: recently there have been many fake ancient remnant blueprints appearing in Whitewater City. There are even some immoral people who wrote the word idiot and cheated everyone of a lot of money. I saw it with my own eyes and felt anxious in my heart. This kind of blatant fraud is really despicable. Because of this, I guarantee on the reputation of Liuxiang Pavilion for 100 years that I will contribute a real ancient remnant blueprint. As long as you spend 1,000 silver taels in Liuxiang Pavilion will immediately give you half of the ancient remnant blueprint for free. The second time you spend another 1,000 silver taels, they will immediately give you the rest of the ancient remnant blueprint. Honest with all ages, Kim Taeho. Xiaoqin executed the blue dragon cloud soaring art. He was like a fish in water as he rushed up the stairs. Along the way, all sorts of voices entered Xiaoqin's ears. This fatso is really a good person. He knows that we have been cheated badly. After we eat something he gives us the blueprint. That's right, I spent 1,000 silver taels to buy that idiot blueprint. As long as we eat something here worth 1,000 silver taels, it will be given to us for free. Normally, I don't like that fatso, but I finally did something good. Stop talking and quickly eat. How much have you eaten? I ate 100 buns. I still need another 900 buns to reach 1,000 silver taels. When Xiaoqin heard this, the circulation of essence in his body suddenly went awry. He was nearly unable to execute the blue dragon cloud soaring art. He cursed in his heart, this fatso is really inhumane. He cheated people until they were running around in circles, and they still helped him count the money. They walked all the way to the 3rd floor. Xiaoqin flashed his VIP card and entered. Only then did the feeling of crowding lessen. After all, the 3rd floor had a threshold. It was not that easy to enter. Waiter, bring a pot of good tea and some appetizers. After Xiaoqin sat down, he immediately called out. The waiter of Liuxiang Pavilion was very efficient. Not long later, the things that Xiaoqin ordered were served. Did you see Yan Qinyun's expression when he was taken away by the Yan clan's guards? I saw it. His expression was very unsightly. It looked like he was crying. His body was completely naked as if he had been plucked clean. When Xiaoqin heard this, he could not help but feel interested. He remembered that Yan Qinyun had fainted by the roadside. How could he be completely plucked clean? If I were him, I would cry too. I heard that Fatso plucked Yan Qinyun clean for the sake of chasing after him. Damn it, any man would cry. This Fatso is too horrifying. I think no one will dare to offend Liuxiang Pavilion in the future. He really plucked clean all his hair. Wuxia. Xiaoqin could not help but spit out the tea that he just drank. After a while, Xiaoqin finished all the food on the table. A manservant came over and led him to a room at the back. In the room, Fatso was happily doing his accounts. When he saw Xiaoqin, he quickly got up to welcome him. Xiaoqin did not waste any time and said directly, "You should have found the address. Otherwise you would not be selling it so openly."